Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 26th Seattle Angel Conference. Um, we are doing the final demo day today, going through the question of um, where are the investors going to choose to go? Here's the agenda for today. We're going to take a look at um, uh, the basics of angel investing at the beginning, talk a little bit about our alumni and how they've done what they've done, and then we'll go through pitches for the evening. If you have questions, feel free to put notes into the chat. If you are affiliated with a company or affiliated with the investor group or something, it's good to rename yourself so that you can engage in letting people know where you're at when you're engaging. We will do some breakout rooms from now and then, so that helps you interact better. So when we're in a breakout room, like we just finished, it's useful for people to give everyone a chance to talk. It's also useful to go to the More button and then click on the breakout rooms, and then you can move from room to room as you like. I'm John Seacrest, the founder of this program. We've been running it now for 13 years. This is the end of the 13th year. We also have some additional programs that we'll go into some detail about. We had 70 applicants. Of those, we have now, through quarterfinals, semifinals, and finalists, brought them down to the 6 finalists you see today. And as a result, today we will have the choice of which company we will be making the investment in. And we will go through a bunch of the details of that over the next little bit. These are our finalists. We have Page Technologies, we have Vera, we have Pactus Medical, Makani, Just Enough Wine, and Cleverman, a wide range of companies from a wide range of industries, and you'll learn a lot more about them in just a moment. Before we get going too far, in general, it's important for people to know angel investing is not a liquid asset class. It can be very interesting because it's cross or counter-cyclical to other asset classes, but you'll be in it for a very long time and you won't necessarily be able to get out. Unfortunately, the ones that you will see get out early will likely be the ones that have not succeeded. So they have early infant mortality. So you write a check, then that company dies, and you run another check, and that company dies. And so there's a certain amount of resilience in angel investing that's necessary. It's also a relationship-based activity, and so there's a lot of belief and trust that's necessary for the program to work. Fundamentally, you need to have a portfolio, not a single investment, and we believe that that's 20 deals for this to work out well. And in fact, it's better for you to add more deals than to add bigger checks, which is why we work together in a group to make this work so that we can, as a group, provide a large check to the company with one entry on the cap table. And as a normal angel, you would write many small checks rather than writing a few big checks. And we know from evidence that doing due diligence in your selection matters. And so we've spent the last month doing due diligence on our finals, and we'll hear more about that shortly. It really matters that you do due diligence, and to the point where I like to say people who are writing checks based on other people's due diligence without any of their own are not really angels. We'll call them LPs or limited partners, where they're believing in the other person that did the due diligence. And our goal is to produce more angels that do effective angel investing, and so therefore do more effective due diligence. So far, because each round we gather 40 people or so, we've been able to, in our 26 rounds, invest $6 million. We've seen a I think this number is a little bit low, actually. We've seen closer to 1,500 companies come through the program so far. We use a tool called Dust as our tool to keep track of the companies as we go through. That translates into more than 700 unique angel investors, with many of them coming back time and time again to help support us. And all of the members of our angels participating become members of both EBAN, the European version, and ACA, which is the US version of Angel Industrial Association. We have some alumni who have gone on to then engage in creating their own angel groups of one form or another. Grubstake's Sea Change Fund, which is now really being replaced by Venturous as an active angel fund. First Row Partners and Flying Fish Ventures are all created by alumni of this program. And we've helped other places get this program in place. Kelowna, BC, the San Diego Angel Conference and the Alaska Angel Conference are also results of this. We also have a transatlantic version that's currently running the 6th round with the demo day on December 5th, and a women-focused one in Europe that is going to have a demo day in February. We have many companies. Sometimes we can't actually decide, and so we invest in more than one. And so we're up to 48 total invested companies, many of which are from UW and so forth. I'm just looking at Cath Connect as one of the companies that has come out of UW and then gone on to being invested by us. It's important to recognize that we're not really trying to sell you an investment in our company today. What we're trying to do is demonstrate what we've done with angel investing and invite you to explore angel investing more, either as a startup or as a company. And we're trying to make sure that everybody understands that this is a risky business, and that our investors are just regular people, not paid people who've come through this as a profession. Indeed, almost 15% of the Seattle population is accredited by federal law. Sadly, we do not have all 15% angel investing, and our goal is to increase that. I would like to bring Bob up. If I can find Bob, that will be a good thing. Bob, can you raise your hand, please? That'll make it faster for me to find you.
Oh, let's see.
There you are.
There I am. Can I do a sound check? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good.
So Bob has been our MT for most of the versions of this program, and so I'll let Bob take it from here.
Well, good. Well, thank you. And this will be a weird one for me. Normally, I would MC the entire program. Unfortunately, due to a conflict, I'm only going to be able to keep the train on the tracks for a short time, and then I'll hand the baton off to Elizabeth to carry the rest of the way. A little bit about myself. I am a serial founder turned investor. I've been bringing founders and investors together in a sort of membership community for about 19 years. That's Startup Haven. We have about 2,500 founders in 18 chapter cities, and we do what we can to help them connect with each other so that they can help each other. We also launched a venture fund in 2020 and are investing out of our fund 2 now. Spend a lot of my time mentor advising founders and trying to help some investors think through thesis and whatnot too. So consider me a resource. So John, I know that the next 2 slides in the deck are also introduction slides. Yes, thank you. I don't have the deck in front of me, so I'm not the one changing the slides. Yeah, and we're going to hear from Elaine, who has been involved in SAC since SAC number 7, if you can believe that. And I look forward to SAC every 6 months. And Elaine, if you're listening, I know you are, I look forward to your talk every single time. In the early days, I used to watch you talk about all of the other investors' funds in Seattle, and it was a proud moment for me to see Startup Haven Ventures show up on your amazing visuals. You have a ton of experience as obviously in tech, but you were also a founder of your own startup, and you've been our maven for all these years. And thank you for everything you do. Are you ready to present?
I am.
Okay, good. Well, let me get out of the way and let you do your thing. Everybody, listen up. What you're about to see is amazing.
Let me share. Okay, let me just do a check. Can you guys see
Looks
the,
good, Elaine.
looks good? All right. So everyone, so excited to be here for the demo day of Seattle Angel Conference 26. As Bob said, I'm a 25-year veteran of Microsoft, co-founder of 2 companies, and have been and loving being an angel investor ever since SAC 7. I am also a super huge total data geek. So what I love to do is kind of comb and understand the latest data insights from around for the early startup investing ecosystem and bring those to you. So my hope today is that you will leave here with a new little juicy tidbit of knowledge that you didn't have before. So let's get started. I'd like to say that I have used Carta as my data source today, so we can thank them for having the hot off the presses state of the information through Q3 2024. So when we think about it, I'm going to start talking about the what's. So in Q3, we saw a drop in both cash raised and number of total rounds of pre-priced rounds, price seed, and Series A in all of those. So a small decline in each of those. We hear a lot about AI, but I wanted to make sure everybody understood that funding is not all about AI. So if you're not in the AI space, there's room for you too. While the round volume dropped, another interesting piece is that the median valuations have remained high and are increasing in both seed on the left and Series A on the right. So that's good news for most of you out there. But that said, there is a significant number of down rounds out there. In Q3, that number was 20%. So that is a significant number and something to be aware of as you guys move forward. Now, we've heard the bridge rounds talked about in and out for the last couple years, but right now I wanted to focus in on this quarter Q3 in pre-seed and Series A. Bridge rounds are taking up 40% of those the rounds in those areas. That is a large percent of the pie, and that means that there is even less cash available for primary rounds. When we think about the whys, diving into those, why are these bridge rounds needed? Well, what we're finding is the median time between primary funding rounds has increased because investors, given the climate, are more selective, take longer time, are looking for more in terms of key metrics to meet. So when you think about that, and you understand that it's taking longer, what that then in turn means for you is that primary rounds should cover more. So the standard rule of thumb used to be 18 to 24 months. Latest data would say that your primary round should really cover up to 2.5 years of your runway. When we look at Carta, there was a very interesting insight that they put up, and I wanted to share that with you because I think it really affects mindset. So over here on the left graph, this is the seed and Series A total dollars in terms of raised for each quarter since 2018. And you see this peak here in 2021 and the first 2 quarters of 2022. And so they broke that out here in the middle slide between price, seed, Series A. Those are in the green outline. And then all the other kind of rounds to the right. And on the far left, that graph, what they did was take out the aberrant months from the wild 6 quarters in 2021 and the first part of 2022. And what they're finding is more or less things in terms of stability for the cash that is being raised per quarter. So there's been a lot of questioning about, oh, when are we going to return to the numbers that we saw in 2021 and 2022? And what Carta is actually saying is, hey, everybody needs a new mindset because we're not going to be returning to those wild market days, that we are actually in a much more stable time, and this is the new normal. So wanted to make sure I brought that forward because I think that kind of changes some of the way we think about things. When we talk about the how, what we're finding is that safes are the main funding vehicle in early rounds. And by a long shot, whether that be in early or sub 1 million, and actually in the graph it shows sub 2 million, safes are where it's at. And then if we look at all of the kind of almost every major metro market across the USA, we find that safes are the default instrument in those pre-price funding rounds for over 50% in almost every one of those markets. So safes are definitely kind of dominating. And when we think about safe types, there's 2 that are really the ones to watch. That's valuation cap only, and that one is the most popular, followed by valuation cap plus discount. And you might say, oh, well, I wonder why those are most popular. Well, in 2018, Y Combinator introduced the post-money valuation safe on their website and as a default on what was available. And so back in 2018, you can see 88% of safes were pre-money, 12% post-money. And in that year, YC made post-money the default safe. And you can see how that quickly changed. And now post-money safes are dominant. You can also see in 2021, YC removed the val cap plus discount option, which then again drives the val cap only dominance as well. So that gives you a little bit of the whys behind what's happening in the safe area. When we think about how much, I wanted to put this in for you guys. There's a lot of numbers on here, but basically this is the full range of post-money valuations and cash raised in the different stages and different 25th, 50th, and 75th percentile. So I'm not going to go through all these numbers, but the slide deck will be available up on slideshare.net after the event today, so you can download that and study it and find out what's most pertinent for you and your stage. But when we think about valuations, the thing I want to actually point out and make sure is understanding is it varies a lot. It varies within and across industries. So you'll see in this area, they have different sectors: SaaS, health tech, consumer, fintech, biotech, hardware. And then there are definite different tiers of valuation and the percent from that sector in terms of completed rounds, price seed rounds. So you can see there's a lot of variation. A lot depends on your company, momentum, and what you've done. But I wanted to make sure you saw where some of those sweet spots were as well. In Q3, what I thought was super interesting is that 42% of all the deals were with rounds less than 250K. And you think about that for a minute. Those are small rounds, and that could be the link with that 40% bridge rounds that's happening right now to get people between their primary rounds. And also seeing checks under 25K making up 55% of all checks in earliest rounds. There used to be this kind of mindset that said many companies don't take checks under 25K on their cap table. But what this is also telling you is that the median check size in raises under 250K is 18,000. So that is definitely changing, where companies are realizing that there is a need to take those smaller checks, not only for the money, but because those smaller check writers are often first believers, provide momentum, expertise, and networking. So if you have a minimum check size that you might want to kind of review these numbers and see if they align. When we think about the wheres, Bay Area took 35% of the capital invested in Q3 pretty much in the last year, and was first out of 5 of the 6 categories of SaaS, biotech, health tech, hardware, fintech, and consumer. And this is based on the location of the startup. But what that really means is that there is 65% for all of those startups outside of the Bay Area. So money is still there to be had. When we think about trend and timing of when deals have been completed, I thought this was super interesting and just something for you guys to think of and put in your back pocket. December, rounds signed in December, which is pretty much across the board the highest month when rounds are closed. Those negotiations don't start in December, they start before then. So what you definitely see is some less popular close months in 2023 up above. And then almost again across the years, there is less closures in January and February. And so that's typically one of the lowest months because it takes months, as you guys know, to close the deal. And those then who are starting in January kind of pop up in the March, April, May, June timeframe. Good news here on this front is that more startups are getting acquired, both below and above the 10 million raised mark. This information right here is Q1, Q2, Q3 of 2024. So we can see a steady increase in those quarters with the number of acquisitions with over 10 million raised at a record high number of 77. And a very, very healthy number of 93 below the 100 million, the 10 million raised mark. So when we think about the who is involved in this ecosystem, there's this great study by McKinsey & Company in 2020 talking about diversity, entitled Diversity Wins and how inclusion matters. And what they were showing through data analysis, which is, again, what I love to look for, that diverse executive teams are more likely to outperform their peers. So that's something that I definitely do keep an eye on. So when we think about angels and entrepreneurs, there is a positive cycle between them. 55% of all angel investors were previously a founder or CEO of a startup. And then by increasing the number of those entrepreneurs in the short run, then we can help the number of angels in the long run. And it's a very nice feedback cycle. And when we look at the growth in the composition of angels, we see an increased growth in women angel investors over time. And these numbers now represent 47% of all angels in the US, which is actually quite exciting. So when we think about what that then means with entrepreneurs, I am not saying this is causal. However, female angel investor trend is on the left, women-owned business seeking funding on the right. Both are showing growth on similar trajectories, which I think is super exciting. And then if you take those women-owned businesses on the left, and you look at, of those number of women-owned businesses, how many of those received funding, that ratio is called the yield rate. And what we're seeing on the right is that the number of women-owned businesses receiving funding is also increasing. So super positive feedback for all those women-owned businesses out there. And when we think about that ecosystem, what we're also seeing is strong female participation in major Seattle angel groups, and SAC leading the way in 2023 with 34%. So super exciting for representation there. And last but not least, I want to just briefly talk about the startup ecosystem in Seattle. It's a super healthy environment. And I want to give a shout out to all of the groups that have shared data with me over the years. You can see them here on the screen. I really appreciate and give you a big shout out and thank you, because what this allows everyone to do is to understand that larger ecosystem. So here is the list of 18 startup funders in the area that has shared data with us. Those that are gray are not active at the current time, but there are still many who are, and we'll show you what that means and the check sizes and how they relate to each other in just a second. But before we do that, I want to show that there is a broad range of types: angel event funds, active funds, networks, micro VCs, venture builders, and VCs that focus on stages from pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, even through Series C down with Madrona. And the average size investment check size into a founder startup company, and what we see is a huge range. So let's kind of look at the data on a bubble graph so you can kind of put everybody in context. This graph shows the average deal investment from these funding groups when the check size is under 300K. The bottom axis, that x-axis, is the average deal size. So smallest check size to the left, largest check size to the right, and the number of deals is on the y-axis. And what we actually can see here on the left, we have the Flywheel, Virtual Angel Network, First Row Partners, Swan, and Transatlantic Angel Conference over here, writing checks for 150 or less. When we're going between that 150 and 300K number, we have Bob Crimmon's Startup Haven, SAC, what we're here to demo on finals today, E8, Graham and Walker, and Untapped Capital. So now when we move up to that next size check, everything we saw on that last slide, we move to the left. They are still on the graph, but those are all the blue bubbles to the left. And what we see in the green on the right are those new check writers. Those check writers between 500K and $1 million. In here we have Alliance of Angels, AOA, Allen Institute, and Keiretsu Forum. And then the last jump that we do when we take a look at the data is for those checks under 10 million. So everybody again that we saw previously is now in these the blue areas to the left. And the new entrance is Madrona. Madrona has 2 funds. And the blue fund here on the left is a core fund, which does go for pre-seed, seed, and Series A. And that's, and then over here on the right, we have Madrona's Acceleration Fund that focuses on Series B and Series C. So from that, you can see here in Seattle, we have all the different sizes of checks covered through many different organizations. Many of them, I'm very excited, are here today to listen to the fantastic 6 finalists, their pitches, and to be able to continue to support the community and ecosystem. I have put the top insights here as a recap. So when you wanted to go check out the slide deck, you can. Everything that we've talked about today in one slide. And then thank you very much for your time. I hope you are able to take away with a few new insights that can help your business, your investing, and your community. So thank you. Now, probably the most important thing is we get to move closer to those 6 wonderful pitches. Hey, Bob, I see you're back.
Indeed. Yes. Thank you, Elaine. That was tremendous. I see that I have to update our data. I should have checked in with you earlier. But in any case, yeah, the story's better. I'll get that data to you for next time. Any case, thank you all. That was great, Elaine. And now, do we know, is Justine? Can you raise your hand if you're here, Justine?
I'm not seeing Justine here.
Okay. All right then.
Let's bring up Venturas.
Yeah.
I believe Jonathan and Keith are here.
Great.
So John and Keith, raise your hand, please.
There he is.
I'm not seeing Jonathan yet. Nope. No Jonathan.
Not here. So
Jonathan's who gave me the the Zoom. Great to see you guys.
Good to see you too, Keith.
nice to see
Yeah,
you.
I'm sitting. I'm sitting here in the near dark here. I'm sure you've already covered that. So no power here. So I'm on mobile. I apologize for my mobile appearance. But,
You look remarkably well for being out of power.
yeah, exactly. We'll see. Hopefully it comes on. I'm sure I'm not the only one here at SAC. So is there a slide? I am not equipped to present a slide. I didn't know if that was something I think John had submitted.
I'll put it up here. I just have to fiddle with my screen for a second. There you go.
Okay, and well, great, and thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak again. I assume this is just a 1 or 2 minute introduction. I would ordinarily be joined by Jonathan Cagle, who's one of my 2 managing partner colleagues over at Venturas. So John and I are SAC alum back from, as you can see on the slide, we had the pleasure of working with this crew, Bob and John and Elaine, back in starting in 2012, and really got the bug for group angel investing through our experiences in Seattle Angel Conference. I had the pleasure of being one of the managers and really learning the ropes of a little bit of ropes of the fund management. And John did a whole bunch of SAC rounds from SAC 2 to 7. I did I guess SAC 2 to 6 or 7. We had the pleasure of working with John Seacrest on the creation of the Seattle Angel Fund, which I believe was the first active group investment angel fund. It was in Seattle. We brought that to the region back in 2015. That had a great 8-year run from 2015 to 2022 under Susan Preston and a couple other fund managers, Will Finney and Peter Muller. And it was where we really cut our teeth and learned how to really hone our skills coming out of Seattle Angel Conference, hone our skills as not just angel investors, independent angel investors, but group angel investors engaged in a group due diligence process, much like those of you involved with the Seattle Angel Conference 26 here have just been going through. And we really believe in that model for really both seeing great deal flow, supporting founders through the due diligence process, and ultimately finding the right ones to invest the group funds into. That Seattle Angel Fund became the Sea Change Fund over the course of its 8-year run, and growing to over 150 investors in the annual funds, with well over 40 million total assets under, I guess you would say, AUM. It made 71 investments over the 8-year run. So that was quite a legacy for basically Seattle Angel Conference to spawn in the Seattle region for supporting founders. However, Sea Change, the fund manager of Sea Change decided to go to other endeavors. So last year, it was myself, John, and you'll see our partner, Jen Wren Henry, decided we wanted to keep the band together. We wanted to keep the model of active group angel investing going in Seattle. And so we brought about half of our current fund are former Sea Change investors, half are new, and we launched something called Venture Us earlier this year. We are an active angel group, active investing group. We do group due diligence together. Made some changes in terms of our process. We saw some ways to improve the affordability of getting into angel investing if you're coming out of Seattle Angel Conference and want to continue in that. And we do meet monthly. In fact, we have our November meeting tomorrow, but it's going to have to be virtual because power is out at our normal venue. So we did close our first fund for this year a few weeks ago, but we will be doing another fund. It's been going well. We've made three investments totaling $811,000 so far. So I guess that wraps up the introduction of Venture Us.
Yeah, we're just super excited to be supportive of this whole Seattle Angel Conference, what you're doing. That's how I got into angel investing, and so many other people do. And we just say, big thanks to everyone who helped us in our journey, and and all the people who are joining us, and hopefully all of you will take your learnings from Seattle Angel Conference to other places and just spread out this diaspora that's been built by Don Seacrest and others to really increase the amount of angel investing and helping out young entrepreneurs, old entrepreneurs, all sorts of people who are bringing their dreams and bringing them to life.
I'm sorry about having my camera covered. I'm not used to presenting this on mobile. I'm usually behind my laptop. I didn't realize I was obscuring my face. This is me.
No problem.
Well, losing
And I'm
power
at
is
the
one of those
mall.
blessings.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, everybody gets a little extra leeway when they're doing things on mobile in a dark room. So no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you for the
Thank you.
All right. So Jesse and Kristen, why don't you guys come up? And Jesse and Kristen are the managers for.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Jesse just joined.
Oh, he
So,
did.
yeah,
Okay.
let's do him.
All right, good. Jesse, can you raise your hand? Very good.
There we go.
And
Hi, everybody.
there we go.
Okay.
Welcome back, Jesse.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really excited to be here. I think it was really exciting to be a part of this process, and we're still using those due diligence reports. So I thank you so much for that product. I don't know if I should talk or if you want to ask any questions to direct the conversation.
No, just give us an overview of your efforts since we engaged with you.
Sure. I was going to share my screen if that was okay. I don't think I
Yep.
have permission.
Yes, you do.
Ah, I do now. Okay. Okay. So the people, some of the investors here have seen this about 100 times. I'm not going to go through that. But what I wanted to share was where we were currently. As of actually about August, we now have a plan to go into market in the human space in 2025. So we are going to be completing our $2 million raise by the end of this year. That will be enough to begin our manufacturing, and the manufacturing we are already starting to take pre-orders through our B2C partner. And this is going to be in the supplement market. So we're thinking of certain vitamins, certain minerals, and particular compounded drugs in an in vitro research only space. But the pre-orders have already started, and we're looking to be able to sell about 4,000 patches per month starting in January 1 of 2026. So the manufacturing will be built out by August, September of 2025. And with a payback period of about 2.5 years. So we're really excited to be able to do that. We've signed on 2 more contracts in the animal space to continue that front. So this is kind of our timeline. And what's interesting is that this huge up curve actually is all animal drugs. So it's going to take a little bit more time to go to the FDA with the human side, but it's been an interesting road. And so one of the things that's come about is I think every company has a very finite time when things all sort of arrive together, and not to be political, but RFK has a particular stance on certain substances and peptides, ivermectin, nutraceuticals, and vitamins. Those are the areas that we're moving into right now. They just happen to be right where the administration is. So we're taking all the data, all the experience, which SAC's money has been critical in developing, and we're rolling from one market to the next, and meaning all that research, all that data, all that customer feedback rolls from one to the next. And so instead of raising 12 million as a biotech company, we're able to raise 2 million, generate revenues to drive product development, and ultimately create an impact. I think SAC's impact is going to be felt everywhere. I mean, when we think about just even like the animal space, going into the human space, vaccinations of animals have a massive impact on humans. The cutting down on the use of pharmaceuticals, the way we use pharmaceuticals, decreasing the number of animals by increasing herd yield has an incredible impact on the environment. And then ultimately making sure that humans have access to the drugs and vaccines that are critical for their long-term health. That changes health on an individual level. But as we know, one healthy person creates a healthier family. Healthier families create healthier communities. Healthier communities create healthier socialization. And so that's where SAC's money is basically the seed for that start of the seed round, to have hopefully this much impact in the next year or 18 months.
Thanks so much, Jasdeep.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody on the call. And Bob,
Terrific.
I think I still owe my piece of silver.
Oh, that's right. You're in luck. Those have become very, very rare, but I have one sitting in a box with your name on it.
Got it.
All right, good. Jesse, Kristen, let me, you guys can kick me off if you like, and I'll get out of the way. Great.
Thanks, Bob. Do you want to put on that slide, or it doesn't really matter? Yeah, we can just kind of talk without the slides. My name is Jessie Zhou. I am one of the, with Kristen, we are the fund organizers for SAC 26. Unlike Kristen, who has been who has had a bit of angel investing experience, I'm kind of new to the angel investing space. I was involved in SAC 25 earlier this year. I basically stumbled upon angel investing last year after closing out my startup business due to a variety of reasons. And yeah, found the angel investing experience super rewarding. And especially this round being a fund organizer. Kristen and I share the responsibilities of recruiting investors as well as startup companies, and keeping everyone in the loop as we proceed through the conference. And also when the winner is selected, our job is to work with the winning company on the terms of investment. Yeah, so my experience is mostly in product and marketing through a variety of industries, from e-commerce, mobile gaming, travel, and consumer tech. And I'm super passionate about startup mentoring and angel investing. Kristen, do you want to talk about your experience?
Sure, yeah. I'm going to talk a little bit about this round of Seattle Angel Conference. We had over 40 investors from diverse backgrounds, and that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about investing in a group like this, is that I get to leverage all of that experience as I go through and analyze the different opportunities. So I just want to thank everybody who, from our investors who showed up and who were so freely gave their expertise and advice to all of us. We all benefited from that, and I learned from every single one of you. We also had over 70 startups, and I wanted to thank all of you because I know you're really busy, but you spent time with all of us answering all of our questions. You showed yourself to be coachable and willing to learn from us and willing to evolve. We have some great examples of some of the companies that evolved. We had halfway through this conference, we have to get down to 12 semifinalists, and that's about the hardest thing we can do, to go from 70 to 12, because we start to fall in love with all of you and the problems that you are solving. And if you spend time around these amazing founders, you realize, they're the future, right? So they're the ones that are really solving the hard problems out there, and we all really appreciate the opportunity to be able to support you. Once we get down to 6 companies that are in our finalists, the ones that will present tonight, we as investors will put together our due diligence reports. And so that's a month-long process. And again, I want to thank all of you for participating in that, both the founders who made yourself available. We took a lot of your time, as well as people on your team's time. You introduced us to your customers and your partners and other investors. So really appreciate that. And then the due diligence teams put together a report. So all the time you spent analyzing all of the information that was given to us, especially the due diligence leads that went above and beyond. If you haven't seen your due diligence reports, you should look at it. It's pretty amazing. And then I guess the last person I want to thank is John, for continuing to give his time and advice and patiently taking us through all of this, because he is building the future of angel investing in Seattle through all of these conferences.
Great. Well, thank you both. And I want to, as someone who's been involved in virtually every SAC, I want to second the motion. John, what you've built is amazing. The impact that you've had for investors and for startups is unequaled, certainly anywhere near the Pacific Northwest, and I think probably in the country. So thank you for the very great work you've done over all these years. So next is the point in the show where I usually get warmed up and start yelling at founders to get off the stage. But what I'm going to do this time, though, because I do have to depart, is thank Elizabeth for stepping into this role. And I thought I would at least do the favor of sharing with everybody how this next part will go. So Elizabeth's role now will be to keep the trains on the track. And the way the process works now, there's 6 finalists. Each finalist is going to have 5 minutes to present, and then the diligence teams for each of the companies will present for 5 minutes. The order of presentations, see, is that in the order? That is in the order. Good. So that's on the screen. You all can see that now. As your time approaches, raise your hand. All of the presenters and diligence teams should raise their hand so that John can see you and bring you on stage in order. The timing is pretty critical. We want to be fair to everybody. You'll get to finish your last sentence, but if you don't finish in 5 minutes, then you'll be thanked. You'll be thanked out loud by Elizabeth for your presentation. And then we need to move on to the next teams. We want to respect everybody's time, and we want to be fair to everyone. So it may feel brutal, but it really is just to be fair and to respect everybody's time. Elizabeth, thank you so much. Anything else I can do as I hit the door?
We are always so delighted to have you. You are such a great asset to SAC as well as to the whole startup community. And thanks for setting us up nicely.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, enjoy the pitches. Teams, good luck. I'm sure I'll have a chance to connect with many of you after this.
Hoping so.
All right. Bye-bye.
So we're going to remove the spotlight on Bob and start it on to our first teams. Paxos Medical will be the start, and each founder will be sharing their own slides. So I'm going to come down and let you come up.
Okay. So Jeff could not be here. He got stuck in traffic or travel. His flights were delayed twice. So I will be presenting. I'm Matt Fraser. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer of Paxos Medical. And let me share here. Yes, you all see that?
It's just starting to share, Matthew.
Yep.
So as soon as it's open, I'm going to give you your 5 minutes. Thank you.
All right. Are we sharing?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So Paxos Medical is a company that's developing an on-demand bladder voiding at the touch of a button, and you'll understand why this is important. Because there are around 30% of men and women at or over the age of 50 suffer from what's called an underactive bladder. And this is a disease that is multifactorial, but is basically dependent on sensory sensation or motor loss of the bladder. And so the patients consequently may fill to twice the volume, 3 times the normal volume, and in the 20 seconds during which a normal void occurs, they can't empty completely. And so this creates a lot of problems that the residual urine in the bladder acts as a pool for bacteria and can lead to bladder stones. And this can lead to kidney damage because of febrile urinary tract infections and bladder damage and even death. And this can arise from numerous causes, including trauma like pelvic fracture, surgery, oncologic surgery, prostatectomy, cervical cancer, things of that sort, spinal cord injury, metabolic diseases like diabetes, aging, and other neurological disease. And all that we have to date and for the past decades as a treatment is self-catheterization. And so these patients get told, hey, you got underactive bladder, sorry about that, here, have a catheter. And catheters are problematic for a number of reasons. They're invasive and painful. They can cause urethral erosion. You're almost always introducing bacteria. So there's a significant risk of infection just from using the catheters in addition to having this residual pool. And the catheter costs alone are about 10K per year. And if you get infections, which sometimes are twice a year, 20K per infection if hospitalized. So our therapy is a stimulation of nerve target that initiates and maintains voiding in an underactive bladder patient. And so we would have something very similar to what is currently used for sacral neuromodulation, except that our target is not the spinal roots in the back. It's in fact the proximal urethra here. And we'll get into that. So, we would have these Bluetooth for the IPG. The patient would either via timing that they would normally use for catheterization, or because they are going out, they might want to empty their bladders. They would use
Matthew, just to let you know, 30 seconds left.
Oh boy, utilize an app. And so the proximal urethra is here. It's the target. There are 6 nerves bilaterally that come in to cause the void and maintain the void. The population is huge. As I said before, about 30%, that's 24.2 million people in the US alone. The market opportunity with only a 3% penetration is also huge, close to 11 billion. And our IP covers both the location of the electrodes as well as the frequencies. We have a well thought out execution plan that includes interaction and exit possibilities with strategic involvement all along the way, even to IPO if that seems to be the best option. We have a stellar team. Jeff was 20 plus years in Medtronic, so I do him. I have 35 plus years in pelvic health research.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
That will be time. We're going to bring Lisa up so that she can share some of the due diligence questions here. I'm going to
Okay,
share
thank
a
you.
slide here. And can you see that? Yes.
Click on the slideshow.
Slideshow.
It's on upper right.
Sorry. Thanks, John. Okay. Do you want to take us away?
Sure. So I'm Lisa Domenico. I lead a great team here that was Michelle, Greg, Vinay at Tiger and Lauren. And we really had the opportunity to dig into Paxos Medical and find out a lot about what they're doing. And I think that one of the things that we found initially was just the impact this could have on patients' lives. What we think of as just such a basic procedure for us to get up and use a restroom for 24 million people is not as easy as all of that. And so they were looking at a product that could really bring quality of life to patients, health outcomes, and really give physicians an opportunity to have a better solution for their patients. One of the things we also found was in looking at the solution that this was a team that was really ideally suited to address the need. They have expertise in neuromodulation, in devices, the R&D necessary to create a product. They have the research and trial expertise because this does have to go through a number of trial phases, including that in patients. They also have on their advisory team They have physicians that really understand the needs of patients and have an idea of how to reach them with this new opportunity if it is shown to be safe and effective. They understand the regulatory process for a device as well as getting all the way through to FDA approval. And importantly, they know how to raise money. What we also were able to understand was how they had created the moat or the firewall around their technology through their intellectual property, which is licensed worldwide. They have several patents pending, and they understand that the FDA process begins once that clinical data is available to them. So they really understand it, and as Matt was describing, they have a very methodical and stepwise process for how they're going to go about bringing a product that is, in this stage all the way through to patients. And I think that that was what was so impressive, is that this is a very complex process. It's a very long process. It is what you have to do when you're talking about medical devices and infecting the health of patients. So we really do need people that understand this full process. So we were impressed. They understand they need a strategic partner along the way. And as not surprising, this is a pre-revenue opportunity. They won't see that until 2029 when they're able to actually sell this into the public. So it was a pleasure to meet this team. Both Matt and Jeff were incredible in terms of their ability to talk with us and help us understand what they were doing. And we also had an opportunity to talk to some of their key opinion leaders. So we feel like we have a pretty good grasp of what they are looking for. Of course, there are always remaining questions. Elizabeth, is that where you'd like me to go next? I don't know what my timing is.
Yes, please. Remaining questions for your last minute and a half.
Okay, so I mean, I think they're here on the screen, and Matt, maybe you can talk a little bit about these three here. I'll give you the time instead of hearing from me.
All right, well, the first one, managing the high cost structure and capital needs to develop and deliver. So our stepwise process, as Lisa said, the fundraises follow the success in a logical sequence for each of the phases. And as I had said earlier, there are opportunities along the way to involve strategics at various levels. And if the investors think that they would rather take it to an IPO, I mean, that's a discussion for down the line. But we feel like we have set ourselves up for success in terms of deliverables and then future fundraising based on those. Mitigating the clinical uncertainty of the product's efficacy. I can tell you that these reflexes have been shown in 3 unrelated species, rat, cat, and sheep, and that includes humans. As an additional species, there's a condition called stand-up urgency, where if you have a weak bladder neck and you stand up, gravity works, urine enters the proximal urethra, stimulates these nerves, and causes a void. So these people are incontinent. Am I out of time?
Yeah, you're out of time. Thanks very much. And I'm so delighted, Matthew, that you will be staying with us for the rest of the afternoon so that you can have an opportunity to talk to the investors and to others so that we can answer the rest of your questions. Thank you both for your time today.
Yes, thank you all.
Okay. Vera, we've got you coming up. Thank you very much for joining us, Tina.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tina John. I'm a biomedical engineer, mother of 2 girls, and founder and CEO of Avira Health, which is launching Vera. I want to introduce you to baby Vera. So if you see me on the screen, baby Vera is nursing at the breast, and she's having difficulty latching. Because of that, I'm experiencing pain at the breast every time she comes to nurse, and I'm seeing a drop in supply day by day because she's not efficiently removing milk from the breast. 1.2 million mothers in the US drop out of breastfeeding within the first 4 weeks after having their infant out of exclusive breastfeeding for these reasons, or they turn to exclusive pumping, where you see at the top left. This is where the milk is removed from the breast 8 to 12 times a day and then fed to the infant a separate 8 to 12 times a day. This adds about 5 hours of work in a typical newborn day. And what we discovered by talking to over 150 mothers and families is that breastfeeding, breast pumping technology was never created to feed the infant that's right in front of you. That's why we have quietly been building the Vera Smart Feeding Pump, which will launch next year. This is the first device in the world that allows you to pump and express milk into the container, and then optionally use the smart nipple in order to also feed your infant. If you are feeding the infant, you'll be able to monitor exactly how much the infant is drinking live to the 0.1 ounce accuracy. So you'll see it tick up on your mobile device, 2.1 ounce, 2.2 ounce, 2.3 ounce. What you'll be able to do, what this allows mothers to do is for exclusive pumping mothers, it will save them 4 hours of work by being able to combine pumping and feeding. And it'll provide any mother confidence about how much the infant is drinking, something they can share with their clinician, and also how much they're producing, which is they can track on the device. The breast pump and breastfeeding market is a large worldwide market and ecosystem, but the breast pump worldwide market itself on its own is a $2.9 billion market with a 8.6% growth rate. We plan to both encompass and also expand that market so that we encompass 7.5% of the market within the next 5 years. And I'll remind us that this is a new category of devices with feeding pumps that does not yet exist. We have protected our technology that I've shown you just now with 1 patent granted in the US that has to do with the feeding and counting technology, and 6 additional patents filed around the world that are meant to be blocking patents to make it difficult to get into the feeding and pumping state with what we have learned about producing this for mothers and infants. We have 3 primary ways that we'll enter into the market. 1, direct to consumer via our websites like Amazon. 2, by insurance reimbursement, and 3, eventually by retail. Now you can see that while our device is the only one in the world that will feed the infant, track consumption, allow you to save time pumping and feeding, and bond with the infant while you are pumping and feeding, we are also the strongest high-end wearable in suction strength amongst all of our competitors. We will retail at $549 or higher possibly, and that'll give us market competitive with the other high-end wearables. In 2 years after launching this device, we will launch the low-cost feeder, which will, between the low-cost feeder and the current device that you saw today, we will achieve 90% of the revenue over the next 5 years. And we'll have gross margins of 65% at scale, which means orders of 10,000 or larger. In the coming weeks, we will be cutting our first tooling order with our production, for our production units with manufacturers across the globe. This is a very exciting moment for us, and this triggers the pathway forward to the FDA clearance in Q3 and initial launch with 500 mothers shortly after. The team behind this amazing product and journey has over 50 patents between us, over 20 510(k) clearances, class 2 clearances amongst our team, and has dozens of commercial consumer good products and also medical device products in our portfolio.
Thanks very much, Tina, for finishing up. And we're going to ask Ashwin to come and share the DD's team thoughts.
Hey, I'm Ashwin, and I had the opportunity to lead an awesome team through the due diligence. Joss, Gordon, Robin, Margot, Elaine, and Lee and Hitesh. And through the due diligence, we uncovered a lot of details about the market itself. we confirmed independently that the breast pump market is 2.9 billion and growing strongly, and that Vera has a really strong IP and moat with its pump and feed mechanism as well as counting mechanism, which it's going to introduce for the first time into this market space. It's going to be, when Vera is launched, it's the first and only device that's going to be simultaneously feeding and pumping as well as real-time tracking, while also meeting or beating existing competition in suction strength. We thought this was a pretty breakthrough. The team behind this is passionate, and we've met the team, and we were blown away by their past history in filing patents, getting FDA clearance, and taking all these devices to production scale, manufacturing scale. And we also verified their supply chain, that they have supply agreements already in place, and we thought their cost of goods sold and the fallback strategies for manufacturing are pretty robust. And that led us to actually produce pretty good financial projections for the company independently. With that, I want to turn the questions over to Tina, because one of the first questions is like, what makes you confident that the FDA clearance will actually come through in the next year?
Yeah, so thank you, Ashwin. A few things. First of all, we've done a pre-submission with the FDA, which means that they've seen our file and they know about our product, confirmed that it is a Class 2 medical device. It falls under breast pump because of the way that we designed it, and it does not require a clinical study. We also have continuing conversations, open dialogue with the FDA because of that pre-submission. Second is, really as a team, we are even overqualified in experience with Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 products. All of us have designed and been on that, and our COO, Kristen Ibarra, is particularly has a very strong regulatory background as a consultant herself.
Great. Moving on to the second question. So a lot of people have asked, this is a consumer-facing device. What makes you confident that you will be able to execute on marketing this to consumers?
Yeah, this is my biggest task as a CEO, to make sure that at the right time for the company, we're bringing on the right talent. As an example, for instance, despite our regulatory and medical device expertise, bringing on an amazing architect to design the software and the front end, back end, and app, bringing on UI UX for development of the app, and also this ID and design team that's going to bring on the aesthetics of the device. These were all components that make us who we are today. The next frontier is sales and marketing in the 3 different areas that we're going to be entering the market. First, direct to consumer. So that'll be a sales and marketing individual that joins our team, and also collaboration with PR agencies that will allow us to get out into Instagram, TikTok, organic social media, and then climb through as we go to reimbursement models. And then finally, with marketing firms, where we have our lead investor, it's actually prominently owns a large marketing firm and will guide us through that large scale consumer market.
All right. So you aim to hit 210 million in 2029. That's aggressive. How do you plan to do that?
And we're going to save that question now that Ashwin has asked you. You know what it is. You'll be able to answer it in the break. You could put it in the chat for you and Matthew if we didn't get to it earlier. That would be fine as well. Thanks so much, both of you. Tina, great presentation. And Ashwin, thanks for your feedback here. We'll just do a remove some folks, and you're up, and you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So you'll have 5 minutes and then 5 minutes for questions.
Okay, perfect. Hi, how are you doing? My name is Carlos Barreto. I'm the CEO and founder of Cleverman. Cleverman is confidence in a box. We deliver innovative hair and beard solutions for men with cutting-edge formulas, AI-powered personalization, intuitive packaging, and engaging in-store experience, empowering men to look good, feel good, and be the best selves. We are in a very exciting category. The hair and beard grooming category is a booming market. It's projected to be an $8 billion market with a 6% compound annual growth. Also, we are working on gray hair. That is the first visible sign of aging for most of the men. And actually, we launched in a category that is on an underserved market with very artificial results when you do it, very messy application, and so lack of choices. To compete in that category, actually, we have a big promise for the consumers. They are going to be look good. They are going to be look like you. To do so, we have to really reinvent the category and acting in every single aspect of the consumer experience, beginning with the product. Our product is a proprietary formula that is professional quality, is long-lasting, lasts up to 5 weeks, is drip-free, is nourishing, and 100% vegan. Also, we are changing how people have more choices. So we have unmatched choices. We can create up to 10,000 combinations that create the right shade, the right product for every single consumer. We create tailored instructions for every single user, and even every consumer has a personalized time. Also, we have an effortless experience how you use the product. We have a patented system that is quick and simple. In 4 simple steps, in 5 minutes, with a mess-free process and a reusable application that lasts up 1 month, you can get your results. Also, we are working to make our packages 0 single-use plastic by 2025, so we don't impact the environment. Also, we are working to create an experience that goes beyond just only the product, but also in the shopping and all the experience that we create with technology. So we have a proprietary e-commerce platform that is AI-powered. Actually, we're awarded by Google to create an AI-powered solution. So we can tailor recommendations, have seamless reordering, and optimize the post-purchase support. So consumers have the best experience and the product that they ever had, that they can ever have. And also, we believe that looking good should not be a taboo for guys. It is a taboo to look good. So we're creating a community that now has 100,000 consumers that are connected via confidence. We have clever grooming tips, barber and colorist advice, and a supporting network to support those users. And the results are great. Actually, we have very strong momentum around our brand. We continue growing. We launched it in 2021. And now we continue growing our business, getting to $4 million run rate. And this is just only the starting because we are at the e-commerce stage, and now we are expanding into new territories and new channels. Also, we have been a perfect fit for subscriptions. We have today 8,000 subscriptions. Our aspiration is to be at 10,000 by the end of the year. And 85% of our revenue is coming from those recurring users that love our products. And we have bold plans for the future. That includes first, a retail expansion. We are in active conversations with Ulta. This is the new packaging that we will launch there. And the idea is to expand in the biggest retailer in beauty in the United States. Today, they sell 150 brands of male products, and it's a great opportunity to expand in hair color where there is no brand yet. Also, we are looking for category expansion in adjacent categories. We just launched grooming tools, hair care, and beard care. And into the future, we will be launching styling, hair regrowth, and scalp health. We are looking also at new geographies, and we are actively looking for plans to launch in Canada, in Mexico, and UK. And we have a great team with great expertise in consumer goods, with experience in Procter & Gamble, Estée Lauder, Coca-Cola, Revlon, and L'Oreal, but also on technology with Twilio and Amazon. And we have profitability in the site. Actually, our plan is to be profitable by the third quarter of 2025. And today, our gross margin is jumping to 67%, thanks to all the actions that we are doing in terms of optimizing costs, moving our production to Mexico. So our vision is to create a global brand that should be in the next 5 years, $100 million. Now we're expanding in Amazon. We're looking for retail. We're looking for new categories. And in the future, we're looking to go in categories like hair regrowth and scalp health. So why Cleverman? Because our rapid growth in DTC, our strong loyalty with strong repeat, very efficient acquisition, just only at $24 with a 5 LTV ratio. We are responding in retail in the next 12 months. We have high margins at 65%, and we are growing to be at $9 million in the next 12 months. But overall, because our passion is helping guys to look good and to feel good about themselves. And that we know that really has a big impact, not just only on themselves, but in the people around them. So we invite you guys to be part of our next chapter at Cleverman. Thank you.
That's perfect for us to be inviting Chris up to talk about the due diligence and questions there. Chris, I brought you to the screen. Could you stop sharing your slide, Carlos, and I'll be able to share mine?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks very much. There we go.
Good.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, Carlos. Great presentation. Again, first of all, I'd like to thank our due diligence team and Beacon Beauty and their entire team. Anil, Charan, David, Prashant, and Sudhir. They put together a great research and analysis and a very good, thorough due diligence report. To sort of quickly go through what we explored, and what we actually found out, like the biggest thing that we really liked about Cleverman, Beacon Beauty was the team. This team, Carlos, Mariana, Liam, etc. Their core team has beauty, CPG, all in their DNA. They've been working in this for 20 years each. They've been working together, and that's how this team came together. They work together in Revlon and in many other places. So that really is the biggest strength this company has, is that team that's worked together and has done it. The operations of the company, every time we talk to them, all the questions we ask them, all the information we ask them, they were very forthright. They had all the information. This company is not a startup. They're actually a very mature team. They've moved beyond that startup phase where they're trying to figure things out, and they've moved to the scaling phase. They're improving things. They're in the process of moving the operations to improve their margins, to move it to Mexico. They're doing lots of these things that and that's why they're pre-Series A. They're working on their Series A funding. The other very impressive thing we looked into and what we found very impressive was their whole subscription box model. They have spent many years trying to learn this, trying to figure out what their customers want, how to get to their customers, how to acquire them, how to retain them. They're still learning and they're still experimenting, but what we know by that growing subscription rate, now 85% of all of their purchases are through subscribers, is that, with this traction, the customers are actually really willing and willing to buy this product. So the market is growing as well. And they have their own proprietary, brand product formulation, and so this company, we found to be, sort of that notch above beyond that startup. So getting to the questions, Carlos, I think you've answered a lot of these in your presentation, but you've built a successful DTC business. Really getting that broader awareness is getting into retail. What's your strategy in getting there? Why did the retailers want you, and why do you think you'll be successful there?
This was planned since the beginning. We wanted to begin as a DTC because we are learning about our consumers. We really know about our consumers. We have today 100,000 quizzes, 50,000 consumers that we really know. And I think that that's a big value for the retailer. The second one, we are addressing a retailer like Ulta specifically, that we already had conversations, that they don't have a player in this category. We think that we can be the perfect match for them. Actually, they wanted to see brands in male grooming because it's an opportunity for them to expand the business. And we think that we fit all these because we really know our users. We have a differentiated product. We have a really good repurchases. And the most important, we are bringing users to the category. 60% of the people that we have are millennials, and 50% of our users are people that never use hair color. And that's what retailers want.
That's great. I'm going to skip to that last question. So we're based in Seattle. Most of the SAC angels have more of a background and interest in technology. Why should they be excited about Cleverman, a personal care CPG company?
Because we are the merge between three things. I think that the merge between technology, because we have all our user experience. Actually, as I mentioned, we are partnering with Google to predictive analytics, many of the things that we are doing. So we have a great subscription e-commerce platform. Second, we have a fantastic product that also is protected, and we have a great formula that consumers really love. And also we have a great experience in all what we are creating, from the packaging, from the point of sale, etc. But I think that the most important thing is that we have the passion to make this thing happen. As you say, we love what we do. We really have an exciting team. And when you have passion and excitement, we are going to make things happen. And this is what we have been proving during the last couple of years.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And we're looking forward to hearing more in the question and answer period, Carlos and Chris. Thank you so much for your due diligence and for your presentation and participating here in SAC. I'm going to turn it to John Seacrest. We are actually going to have, I'm going to remove you both from the stage. And we are going to have the opportunity to have a little breakout sessions where people can join a variety of groups. John has made the breakout rooms. You'll see them on the menu bar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You'll be invited to join and make a room. Once you get there, if you decide that you're ready to then introduce yourself, say why you came here, ask a few questions, and then you may decide if you wish to join another room to jump to the next one. Don't forget to let everybody talk, though, in the room.
If I clicked on the open rooms, everybody can go in. I've assigned people randomly. You can move around. And so please do move around and visit with people and ask the questions that are on your mind about any of this.
Liz Galloway, if you're here, nice to see you. Come to our event, and we're certainly looking forward to the TED Talk, Women's TED Talk Seattle on December the 6th, right?
It's the Friday, I believe.
Saturday, yeah.
Oh, Saturday. All right, cool.
It's sold out, so no sense in advertising it, but it's going to be great.
There you go.
Oh, I think there will be an opportunity to watch it perhaps afterwards. We're just waiting for the rooms to close here. John, give me a heads up when everybody's come back.
Everybody should be back.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So I'm going to share my slides. That was three very fascinating companies that we saw at the beginning before the break. And now I'll just share who we're going to see next and invite them to get ready. So Page Technologies, Makani Science, and Just Enough Wines. And we'll be asking, so Greg, perfect. Thanks for raising your hand. And Elliot, let's find you here. There we go. I find you now. Okay. So I'm going to spotlight you for everybody, and I'm going to stop sharing my slide and let you share yours. You'll have 5 minutes for your presentation, and then we'll bring up your due diligence team for the next 5. I've got a timer going here. I'll do the same thing I did for everyone, which is just get started up when you're ready. When your slides are up, and you just give me the nod, Elliot. Yep.
Great.
Oh,
Yeah,
there,
good to go.
There you go.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Elliot, co-founder of Page Technologies, where our mission is to simplify agricultural and environmental decision-making with distributed sensor technology. And, the motivation behind our work and really what drives my co-founder and I is this over-fertilization problem. So today, the misuse of synthetic fertilizers across the world not only contributes to millions of tons of greenhouse gas emissions, as well as soil erosion, but also contributes to downstream pollution through issues such as nutrient runoff. Both Peyton and I, we grew up in Minnesota, and we firsthand seen the impacts that fertilizer runoff can cause on nearby aquatic ecosystems. And the problem really lies in our nutrient management systems. So as I mentioned, a lot of fertilizer is wasted. About $11 billion of purchased fertilizer is wasted in the US every year. 2 billion pounds pollute the Mississippi River, and about half of all fertilizer in the world is actually not uptaken by plants. Therefore, it's critical that we use innovation and technology to help solve this problem, as evidenced by a recent report from the White House. Nutrient management today typically involves sending samples to third-party laboratories. Grower has to go into the environment, collect either a soil core or a water sample, and then ship it to a laboratory for chemical analysis. This process is not only expensive, labor-intensive, and time-consuming, but also only captures data from a specific point in both time and space, and does not account for the variability spatially across an entire ecosystem or land area. Nutrient management with Page, we're hoping to offer a simple, lightweight solution with an intuitive user interface. We want to bring the cost of a chemical analysis down by over an order of magnitude, and also allow growers to automate their practices and improve their agricultural land management systems by offering data in real time with a user-friendly dashboard, as well as open APIs, so that they can integrate their data capture from our technology into their current dashboard and make it as user-friendly and easily integratable as possible. And how we do this, our special sauce, if you will, we use printing processes similar to how magazines or newspapers are made, these roll-to-roll manufacturing systems to manufacture multi-signal chemical sensor arrays at extremely low cost. A single sensor strip that we manufacture can detect a variety of different analytes in the environment, such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, pH, electrical conductivity, soil moisture content, temperature. And they can also be integrated directly into traditional IoT or Internet of Things electronics components. So here's an example of capturing data from a cell phone, but this can be any typical gateway that's currently on the market. And these are only dropping in cost to be able to ping the data wirelessly to a user-friendly dashboard. And this dashboard will enable the grower to view GPS and time series data of the various analytes in their environment. We're currently applying machine learning algorithms to further improve the accuracy and alerts based on this data capture. And the idea here is that we can really help growers optimize their nutrient management practices. When comparing our solution to others on the market, there simply are no other products or technologies that can offer both continuous and real-time data capture at our price point. In other words, it only costs us a few dollars to make these sensor devices, and it takes about 10 seconds for them to get the data from the environment. We've already done a number of pilots. We have an active pilot going with a strategic investor, a company in our beachhead market, which is the greenhouse horticulture space. And we've received really, really exciting feedback. All the other products on the market today are 2 orders of magnitude higher that can detect specific nutrients in the environment. So we're really excited to continue doing pilots next year. In terms of our traction and timeline, we've signed an MOU with 2 different partners. My co-founder and I are currently in a very competitive accelerator program that's connected us with a number of serial entrepreneurs in the deep tech space, which we're very excited about. And really the goal is to prove out our MVP before scaling up our technology, and launching our first product at scale in 2026, and then further scaling up and adding other analytes onto our platform in the future. The team, my co-founder and I invented the technology together during our PhDs. We've done a number of accelerators. This is our 3rd one together, learning a lot about startup and business development. We also have an amazing team of external advisors who have all started their own companies with successful exits in both the ag tech and water monitoring markets, and have really accelerated our path towards commercialization. And with that, I just want to say thank you so much, and happy to answer any questions.
Elliot, that was perfect timing. I'm looking to bring Phil up to the stage as your due diligence lead. If not, is there another? Ibrahim?
Yes. So Phil is not able to join us today, so I'll be filling in for him.
Perfect. Thanks so much for speaking up. And here you go. I'm spotlighting you, and you may, and I'm sharing your slides. So just one sec on that. There we go.
All right. So I was a member on the Page due diligence team, and we conducted our due diligence in the structure, as you can see on the slide. So starting with product, we felt the product was very innovative. It solves the problem we're solving, which was helping the user optimize their fertilizer usage. And that can also have a very larger social impact with the environment as well, combating climate change and all that. The team, we felt, has a very strong technical foundation. However, as a very early stage company, I believe less than a year old, there's a lot of development needed on the business end of things. So in terms of their marketing strategy, their operations, stuff like that. And then moving on to financials, the company shows a lot of strong pre-revenue financials, having received a lot of grants. And then moving on to moat. So the low-cost printable sensors is one of the stronger moats compared to alternative technologies in the space that can prove to be very helpful for kind of disrupting this market, although that awaits to be seen. And then additionally, there's the proprietary data asset, being able to collect real-time data of all that their sensors are capable of doing, can have a lot of standalone value and can help. It's basically the kind of like the bread and butter to help the farmers really do what they need to do in terms of using the fertilizer. And then additionally, the go-to-market strategy is a business to consumer model. They utilize, their plan is to leverage connections that they have in this industry, the distribution channels that they have relationship with, although there's no formal plan in place at this time for how that's going to look. And the same with manufacturing and operations. There are scalable concerns with their batch production. And then as for competition, as I mentioned earlier, the sensors, while very low cost, could potentially be disruptive enough to establish themselves in this market space. Then on the exit strategy side of things, most likely it's very early to discuss this because Page is a very young company, but most likely it will be a large ag tech acquisition such as John Deere. And then moving on to our remaining questions, how will Page establish a competitive advantage in a crowded market space?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to cost. Right now there are other solutions on the market, but these systems are, $100,000, capital expense right off the bat. We want to have distributed nodes that can measure a variety of different parameters in kind of distributed space. So I think that, kind of getting that in the market and then offering variance. So, rather than having, hey, this is your one system, you have to pay $100,000 for it. We could really kind of say, hey, how many parameters do you want to measure for your farm? Maybe some growers care about other parameters and some want all of them. And we can kind of tweak and customize it based on where they want to measure and what they want to measure. So that makes it a very kind of sticky product.
And then you project going from serving 5 farms in September of 2025 to 5,000 in December of 26. What scalability challenges do you see for this transition?
Yeah, definitely. So, manufacturing is actually fairly straightforward to scale. I mean, right now we're renting space from the university lab and we can manufacture, thousands in a week of these devices. When we go to, kind of thinking about scaling the product distribution, I think is going to be something we really need to, have dialed in. And we're going to work with partners. So there's already 3 kind of distribution data integration companies in these markets that have shown a ton of interest to either distribute the product directly for us or kind of actually connect it into their current platform. So we're really going to lean, and they have access to thousands of farmers each. So we're really going to work with those partners carefully to get those to allow us to distribute the product effectively.
Cool. And as I mentioned earlier, you guys are a very early stage company. Right now, it's just you and Peyton, the co-founders, working on this full time. So what critical leadership and staffing needs do you see in 2025 to prepare for 2026, and how do you plan to address them?
Yeah, definitely. First couple hires are going to be on the technical side, dialing in the manufacturing, and then also building out our data platform, head of data science, machine learning, as well as software engineering to build out the app. Soon as we kind of, have done our paid pilot tests next year and are getting ready to scale up, we're going to be hiring like a COO to handle the logistics, the operations, as well as a VP of sales and partnerships to really handle, customers and those different distribution partners.
Elliot and Ibram, thanks so much for sharing about your technology with us. Very interesting. I'm going to take you down and we'll bring up our next. Thanks so much again. You can put your contact information in the chat. Greg, you're up and you may share your slides.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And can you see my slides?
Perfect, and we can hear you nice and clearly. Thank you so much. So if you're set to go, I'm setting the timer.
Great. Well, good evening. I'm Dr. Greg Buchert, the CEO of Makani Science, and we're on a path to develop the world's first continuous respiration monitor that can be used in all ages and virtually any environment. So the problem that we're addressing is the status of respiratory monitoring now. And many of you know that if you're not breathing, you're not getting oxygen, your brain dies first, and then you die. And so changes in respiratory rate can be early predictors of patient deterioration. And this was pointed out by the Joint Commission that respiratory rate remains the most inaccurately measured and recorded vital sign. And so because of its importance, a lot of other companies have tried to address this, but they've always come up with just partial solutions and don't have that comprehensive view of breathing. And this is, you can see this in respiration monitoring following other diseases, that diabetes 15 years ago, thought it was okay to prick your finger once or twice a day. And now everybody has this, continuous glucose monitor because it provides actionable, immediate information. Other similarly large diseases like asthma, COPD, 15 years ago, they're blowing in peak flow meters. And now they're still blowing in peak flow meters. They just don't have the information that's actionable. So that's why we developed Makani Science. We use a very unique stretchable electronic sensor. And we embed that here on our Generation 1 device, an on-body hardware that's easy to apply, comfortable to wear, and generates a continuous and real-time waveform that's captured in the cloud. And so it lends itself eventually to some AI algorithms and analysis to hopefully predict, prevent, and intervene when patients are deteriorating. This sensor actually compares very favorably with the state-of-the-art spirometry, and it measures rate, volume, and generates this waveform. But it's unique in that the small size, we can use it on premature infants. And unlike almost anything else in the market, there's no motion artifact. And so where we're headed is developing our Makani 2 device that'll have a 2-week life will incorporate other commercially available sensors. And that'll be our true go-to-market device. We have 9 patents protecting it, and we'll be entering very large markets that include COPD and asthma, sleep disorders, and because of its size, revolutionary and neonatal areas. And it'll give both physicians, the patients, and researchers access to previously inaccessible information. When comparing it to our competitors, 3 things I'd like to point out is number 1 is that it can be used on ambulatory patients because of its wireless nature. Secondly is that we do collect data in the cloud that opens itself up to analytics. And third is because of its small size, it can be used on all age of individuals. The market for respiratory monitoring and disease management exceeds $100 billion globally. And we're confident that we can approach $50 million with our SOM, a 1-year SOM, in 2029. We have a very deliberate path for FDA approval. And our business model is that we will be collecting money for each of the monitors. We'll be selling our app and subscriptions to be able to interpret the data, and selling HIPAA-protected information that won't reveal patients' information, but access to data for researchers and providers. There's a lot of predicates in this market, a lot of strategics in this market, and we are right in the middle with that. We'll be able to enable others' technologies or become a product in their portfolio, and leading towards a very attractive exit somewhere in the $200 to $600 million range, as you see some other examples here. We have a great team that myself, I've started and launched multiple companies. Our CTO is the world expert on these stretchable electronic sensors. And we have contractors that have all had more than 20 years of experience. We have a board of directors that can lead a company. And so with that, I ask you to join us to improve medical care, improve the health, and improve the lives or save lives for so many individuals.
Sorry about that. Thank you for joining.
Okay.
You have 30 seconds if you have one more comment. Otherwise, I'd love to be able to bring up our due diligence lead.
Yeah, I'll yield the floor to Shannon.
Shannon, yes. There we go. Sharing our slide here. Shannon.
Hi.
There you go. You should be able to see it now.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. And can you see this? It's not
you don't need to share your screen. You should be able to see my screen.
Oh, okay, because you have mine, of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you, Greg and Michael, both and the rest of your team for great access. We really enjoyed learning, and our due diligence team did a great job, including Kai, Trisha, Jay, and Ryan. So we really dug into many different aspects of Makani Science. We think it's an really excellent product, and it measures something that has yet to be done. Right now, the team, which is one of our first and main points of due diligence, we found that they're definitely balanced. They have deep leadership and technical expertise. Their advisory board is expansive and has great leadership in terms of traveling through the complicated FDA process. And we've also found that their founders, they are very coachable and really receptive in talking with us throughout the entire month of the due diligence, and we really appreciate that. Greg already explained what the product is, but it definitely, this wireless and novel device has so many potential applications that we're excited about. We verified that clinical need is real, and they certainly have favorable terms with the university for the license, and already started the FDA 510(k) process and have a good strategy to move forward with that. Also wanted to just mention that our team is extremely excited about the data that Greg talked about. And as investors should know, that is not in their current projections. And that is something that we see in the future as a huge boon, both financially and to the medical community at large, once they can get enough data to start running AI algorithms. So I'm going to turn to the questions. Greg, you're an early investor before you became CEO, and then you joined as CEO and made an additional investment. Can you provide some insights onto why you thought that was an excellent idea to change your life?
Sure. Well, as an investor, my thesis is I invest in companies that are improving quality, lowering cost, and applicable to all patients, especially Medicaid patients, who are often the most challenged. And, Makani was checking off all the boxes. And as a physician, I spent my life trying to help improve people's health. And I just saw that this is some way I could hopefully improve the health of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of individuals with our, respiratory monitor.
And you have ongoing discussions right now with quite a few different hospitals, but Children's Hospital in particular. What is the timeline and the impact that you expect this potential trial to have in terms of the credibility and market adoption for Makani?
Well, it does a couple things. One is it lets us compare head to head with the state-of-the-art device, which is a respiratory inductance plethysmography belt, which is only accurate about 70% of the time. And so it'll give us a chance to demonstrate that our sensor is small enough to be working on young children. And it also gives us a chance to work with CTIP, the Consortium for Technology and Innovation in Pediatrics, to not only be in Chalk Children's Hospital, but other children's hospitals that will eventually need to do our clinical trials for our Generation 2 device.
And given that the anticipated FDA 510(k) clearance is for Q1 of next year, can you let us know a little bit more about what you learned in the process to date and any contingency plans that you might have if it's further delayed?
Sure. A couple lessons learned are that the pre-subs are critical, and to really ask deep and probing questions during that process. Secondly, is it's important to look at the FDA's timing and be very knowledgeable about when things have to be submitted and when responses could be due from the FDA, so we can make sure that we hit all their marks. And the other thing is knowing that it does take time and that there might be follow-up questions, to do other activities in parallel to just the FDA submission, such as the marketing analysis, the manufacturing evaluation, and other things like that. So we can still keep moving the company along quite quickly.
Excellent. And since we have a little more time, I'll ask a follow-up to that.
You're going to have to ask that follow-up in the chat. Thanks so much, Shannon, for preparing your due diligence team for this, and Greg for the responses that you gave and your presentation. We'll look forward to you putting some contact details in the chat. And of course, everybody can go to the resource page as well as an option. I'm going to take the spotlight off you now and remove it from you. And thanks so much. And now we're going to bring up Jess close to this. There we go. And Jess, you may be able to share your slides.
Yes, give me 1 second. Can everyone see that?
Nope, it hasn't loaded yet. Yes, now we can. So
now again.
Yep, yeah, we can. So go ahead. I'm going to start the timer and there you may begin.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm last, but hopefully certainly not least. And we're after 5 p.m. now. So we're going to start talking about wine, which is very fitting. But I am Jess. I am the founder of Just Enough Wines. We are a premium canned wine brand. I started Just Enough in 2020. Prior to starting this company, I worked in big tech. I was at Google and Uber for most of my career and wasn't as fulfilled in the work that I was doing and wanted to pursue something that I'm more passionate about. I've always loved wine, love that it can be your transition from work to leisure on a random work day, but also be part of these fancy food and wine experiences that you can have. So I knew I wanted to do something in the wine space. And then I was solving my own problem, which many people can also relate to, where I'd either open a bottle of wine and waste it a few days later because it would go bad, or drink too much and feel bad the next morning. So I wanted a built-in portion control. So we landed on the cans for that reason. Our cans are in a glass and a half, so it gives you that single serve option. The cans give you a whole lot of other added benefits. They are portable. You can take them where you don't want to take glass. They're also much more environmentally friendly. And then when we launched in 2020, and still pretty true to this day, is most of the can wine out there tends to be a much lower quality. So our goal is to become the category leader in premium can wine. So with that, we source all the wines from Central Coast of California. All are award-winning, have been rated 90+ points by really reputable wine enthusiasts, and all really just putting a really high-quality glass of wine in a can instead of a bottle. You're meeting me tonight. My co-founder and I met in undergrad at Stanford, and I came from the tech space, and as you can see, she came from the finance space. So while we both love drinking wine, neither of us had the wine background. So we brought in a super solid team to support us. This team involves individuals who previously have worked on both the supplier side, but also the distributor side. So understand the important aspects of scaling a wine business and how to really grow our companies successfully. In terms of our revenue growth, we, as of this week, officially surpassed 6 million in lifetime revenue. We, up until this year, have doubled our revenue year over year, and have seen a very solid jump in 2024, which is driven primarily through our partnership with United Airlines. We are the economy wine option for all domestic flights, but we also have seen some nice success in scaling our wholesale business outside of United. We are currently in over 1,000 accounts in the wholesale side of the business. We see on the off-premise side, we have some really solid wins and chains with Target, Albertsons, Total Wine. Really see a lot of success there. We also have achieved the highest velocity of any other canned wine on the market today in those grocery accounts, which really means that consumers are choosing our cans faster than any other canned wine on the shelf, really proving that our product is the winning product when it comes to the premium canned wine space. And on the on-premise side, see some nice wins. We do really well in luxury resorts. They love us for their grab-and-go programs, their pools, golf courses. Arenas are a really solid place for us to sell our wines as well, but have a nice breadth of where we can sell our cans. As I mentioned, we have some really solid current customers in our pipeline, but we also have a very strong, robust pipeline that is in progress as well. So we are in conversations with the likes of Kroger, Whole Foods, Safeway, continuing to scale our products. We really believe that because we are seeing such strong velocity rates in our current chain partners, that we'll be able to achieve very massive growth in 2025 outside of our United partnership in our wholesale arm as well. If you've ever done anything in alcohol, distributors are the name of the game. You have to sell through a distributor to legally distribute alcohol in the United States. We are currently partnered with Southern Glazers and RNDC. They are the two largest distributors in the nation. They're the ones who really have the ears of all the buyers in the chain accounts, so it's super important to be with those distributors. We currently only sell in California, Texas, and Colorado. We've become the #1 selling premium canned wine in California, #2 nationally, even with just these 3 states. So we've really proven the product market fit in our current states. And as we expand into more states, we'll really start to see that hockey stick growth. We anticipate scaling to Florida, Pennsylvania, and Kentucky before the end of this year, and then we'll expand more nationally and beyond as we go forward. In terms of the brand building side, we do our own marketing. We do most of our marketing is in store, doing tastings, activations, all of that. We do have a strong online presence with our own organic social media. We have a good newsletter, and we do a lot of press outreach. So on the far right, this is Carson Daly on the Today Show. He actually mentioned our wines as his favorite wines when we were presenting to him. So really strong, robust marketing plan as well. Coming very soon is our non-alc line extension. So our brand ethos is all about providing consumers with a more conscious choice when it comes to their wine drinking habits, whether that means they're drinking wine or they're drinking non-alc wine. We think this is a huge, very exciting line extension for us. Category is very hot right now. It's expected right now to be 2.26 billion of the overall wine category, but it's expected to grow 8% year over year, whereas the wine category is flat.
Perfect, Jess. That's your time's up there. So I'm going to let your due diligence lead ask you the next question and see if we can't get you through your next slide.
Thank you. So first I want to thank everyone on our due diligence team. So Terrence, Abraham, Liz, Elizabeth, and Monique. We had a lot of fun doing due diligence on a wine company, and we certainly enjoyed drinking all the wine you sent us. So thank you,
Yes.
Jess. So we quickly concluded that this is a great company. I mean, they've had wonderful traction in the market, as she said, over 6 million in revenue life to date. And so that is quite impressive. And we're excited about the investment opportunity here. The team, Jess and Caitlin, are very experienced business leaders who are now experts in wine and have really proven themselves in building and growing this company over the last several years. And so the other thing we would want to point out, and Jess will talk about this a little bit further, is that in this market, it is not a winner take all market. There's plenty of room for lots and lots of successful wine businesses and canned wine businesses. And so we like that. And we think that these guys are well positioned to be one of the leaders in the premium canned wine market. So I'll go into some of the questions that we would still like to get your perspective on. And so firstly, do you have a moat, an economic moat? And why wouldn't a big wine player just come into the premium canned wine market?
Yeah, so I'll take it in the two parts. So in regards to the first part, as you mentioned, this is not a winner takes all market. As you know, if you look at a wine shelf on a grocery store today, there are hundreds of different brands that have really successfully entered the market. But the brands that do succeed are the brands who are really consumer focused and who have a really strong relation to what the brand is selling. And so what we've done is we really want to be that ethos of a more conscious drinking experience, whether it's with our wine or our non-alc products. And then with the wine in particular, really focusing on that premium canned wine space, which a winner has not been named yet. We really focus on much higher quality wine in the can as opposed to what's out there today. Price point is a little bit more expensive, but the branding is also a more premium. It's sleek, it's modern, it's unisex. That's really setting us apart from any of the other canned wines that are out there today from the brand perspective. On the big player side of the question, what we're seeing is that there are a few technical blockers for some of the big players to move into it. The wine industry is super antiquated and moves very, very slow. And so it's a much slower advanced market as well. There also is a little bit, it does require a different canning line as opposed to a bottling line. There is a little bit of different chemical, technical stuff that goes into the wine that we're sourcing. And then lastly, there's a little bit of a different route to market, which is what we're seeing blocking some of these players from going into it. But then lastly, really what we're seeing is the big players are looking for brands that are doing it well and then acquiring them. So for us and for you investors, that is what will be the most successful way for us to see this big return on your investment is being acquired in the next 3 to 4 years.
I'm going to skip to the last one. How will you improve your gross margins over time?
Yeah, this is really mostly a scale game. We historically saw a 30% margin. Our United business is going to see a 20% margin, but with the scale of United, we've been able to reduce our COGS by 40%, and we'll be able to improve the rest of our business from that historical 30% to close to 40% in the next couple of years, which is a really healthy gross margin for an alcohol line.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like a perfect spot with a healthy gross margin for an alcohol line. Jess, thank you so much for sharing. I couldn't go, I'm at work, but I couldn't go and get a glass of wine, but I did get a piece of chocolate just to go with it for when I do get home. I'm excited. Karina, thank you for your questions and Jess for your presentation. We are going to remove the spotlights from you both. We encourage you to put your contact information and any last question detail that you thought would be important to share in the chat there. And there we go, removing the spotlight. So I'm going to put it back on me just for a minute and then tell you what happens next. So if I just stop sharing this one and just have a quick look at the next slide here. I just want to make sure I know whether or not we've got another one. Yes, here we go. So we're going to talk about SAC 27 and which we're excited to be able to do and bring up the new fund managers. So Jesse and Kirsten were for this particular SAC, they'll be actually managing the investment from here to go forward. So once a decision is made after the investors decide who is going to be winning the investment, it'll be an ongoing relationship for negotiation for the terms, which is done by the fund managers. And for some excitement, here's our new fund managers for SAC 27. So how do we get fund managers? I'm going to say that before we actually just introduce them. And if you're a fund manager, it usually means that you've come through as an investor in the pool. You have an interest in learning a little bit more of the mechanics of doing deal terms, and then you come along and join us there. So Sudhir and Prashant, if you'd like to just come on up on stage now. Yeah, well, spotlight you here.
Prasant, oh, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
There's Prasant, and then I'm not seeing Sudhir yet.
I did
So,
earlier, so
Prashant,
that's
you're the person.
yeah, I was just gonna say.
Hello from the garages of Microsoft, where there's the only place where I have coverage and cell phone cover and internet.
So
Yeah,
perfect.
go
Well,
ahead.
you're a little bit dark, but we can see you, and we all appreciate the fact that you made this extra effort to be here with us. So tell us a little bit about what happens in SAC 27.
So SAC 27, we are essentially we are in the process of rounding up all of the investors and getting people to sign up as the investor group. At the same time, trying to get the right set of companies into the portfolio as we speak right now. The company deadline for the event is February 25th, but it's never too early to start applying and getting it done there. And then in the process, there's also a lot of investor workshops as well as awareness that needs to be created so that people can get to understand what the whole process is, what are the dates, and what's the whole application process for SAC 27. So we're going through that process right now, and we are pretty excited. So the kickoff is going to be on March 4th. It will essentially go from March 4th to May 21st. And I think both Sudhir and I are pretty excited about learning the mechanics and driving this whole initiative forward for SAC 27. Both of us were part of SAC 25 as well. And Sudhir was the DD lead for the team that won. And I had the experience of managing a sidecar and running the term sheet as well as setting up the sidecar process for the company that came in second. So we are both excited about essentially setting up SAC 27 for success.
Thank you. And so that'll be coming up in the spring, but sometimes we find that those advanced workshops, the investor and founder prep workshops, get an opportunity to meet some other investors. Did you have the chance to do that when you were leading up to, it would have been 25 for you and 26. Tell us about the benefits of doing that for the founders.
Well, so in terms of for the founders, I think it goes all the way from trying to understand how to pitch your company in the right way, what is the right set of documents that need to be published, as well as getting feedback on what's the right way to reach out the investors. I've seen these coffee shop sessions as well as these these workshops being beneficial both for the investors as well as for the founders and the entrepreneurs, and everybody gets to learn now through the whole process.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and I'll remove your spotlight, although I wish I could give you a bit more light where you are.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, now comes the time. John, would you like to describe what's going to happen next with the investors, or do you want me to reveal that?
No, yeah, I'll be glad to do it if I can find all of the right buttons on my screen here for a second. One too many open windows. So we're in the process of taking a break for the pitches, and we're going to take all of the investors. If they look in their email or in the Slack channel, they'll find a backroom link And so all of the investors who are part of the program that have put their cash in are invited to go to that new link. We will discuss and vote and re-vote and discuss and come back when we have an answer. In the meantime, Elizabeth will conduct some conversations with the companies and help build the audience vote. So now's time for us to leave and go to the new room. So I'm going to make sure that
thank you for giving me the controls again, John. I'm just going to tell us that what we're going to do is while the investors head out, we'll be blessed to have the opportunity to visit with the founders that will remain with us and the rest of our audience. We'll have the chance to do a breakout group, and I'll do that in just a second. Any investor who has not got the link, if you could reach out to me or if John's still in the room, just to make sure you're heading to I can see the number of participants dropping. That's exactly what we want to see happen as the investors go off to make their vote in another room. They will join us when they have made the decision of which of these lovely 6 startups are actually going to receive the investor vote. And at the opportunity here, I think it's a great question for us to just ask if you've got any questions with regards to the process, but it's also an opportunity for me to fire out a few questions to people who've been participating here. All right, so on this slide, I'll just say there's the resources, and that would, if you haven't already got it, that's the links to the company presentations as well as the YouTube videos and things like that. I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen here. And one of the things we're going to spend a little bit of time doing is just talking about who's with the folks who are left in the room, what is the things that you like to look for as you're making these decisions. So founders, the investors have left, but so this is a very safe spot to say, what did you think of the process here? You spent quite a bit of time, 70 companies, and then you got whittled down to 12 and then to 6. And as the final 6 for the last month, you have really spent a large portion of time talking to the due diligence leads. Did you have the information that you needed at the beginning to be able to participate in the program, or did it come as a bit of a surprise in terms of what you were connecting? And I think these answers are useful for other founders who are in the room who are thinking about whether or not they want to be in the hot seat, the same hot seat that the 6 of you had before. Anyone want to share?
Sure, I'll be happy to start. And it was actually it was an interesting process and different from any other pitching event or that I've either invested in or participated in as an entrepreneur. It was, I'd say the strong suits were that the due diligence was very comprehensive, and it was great to actually meet the people on the team and spend a lot of time with so many of the investors. I'd say the one surprise was early on during the pitching activities when everybody was just selected at random, and you didn't know if you're pitching in the first pitch or the 23rd pitch. So that was a little bit unsettling, and it'd be nice to have some. It would have been more comfortable to know where you were in the lineup.
Okay, and I'll tell you that actually feels kind of crazy, but it is intentional. We know that you're going to run into investors at any time. And so therefore, sorry, I'm just going to do follow up on one thing for somebody here. If you aren't prepared to go at any moment in time, then you're losing an opportunity, because I could walk down the hall and say, oh, Greg or anybody else, here's someone I'd like you to meet, and you have to get your 1 minute or 2 minutes pitch in at that period of time. So it is intentional to put you a little bit on the hot seat so that you can do that. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody else, what did they think of the process?
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Good. No, I think it was a great process, actually. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think, as I mentioned, a win is just only to participate. It was a great opportunity to share our ideas, and also I think that the due diligence process helped us in many ways to prepare a much better data room for future investments. And the other thing that I think was very glad is that usually in all the process, I'm the only one there involved in this one. I really enjoyed that it was an opportunity to all the team to participate. Usually we don't have that experience all the time. And I feel a little bit bad about that, because I think that the company has been not built by me, has been built by the great work that all the people in my team has been doing. They push all the time to be the best, and they push me a lot. And and sometimes when I go there to the meetings, looks like it's just only me. And I think that was a very good opportunity to show that this is a team effort. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, in fact, I would just say that your backgrounds there helped to show us that you're a team effort there. So thanks so much, Carlos and Mariana, Liam, and Christian for coming to join us too. Any other feedback from founders that were at this round? And some of you may actually have been shortlisted and not the final 6. So thoughts about what you might have gained from doing this, even if you weren't successful to come to the final.
Well, I agree with Greg. This is a very different approach than what I've been used to, but it was kind of interesting and welcome to see how it operates. I found the diversity of nobody's competing in the same area, which is very interesting. So I thought, kudos to you guys.
Well, Matthew, you and Greg, certainly in the life science space, Tina, you often are like at MedTech Innovator or some LSI or something like that, that might actually be specific to health. And so this does allow you the opportunity. What I think it does is it's super attractive for the investors, because they're really looking at, they don't have a thesis when they come into this event. They're actually looking at what would be the best company that they'd like to invest in. And it is a learning opportunity for the investors. So they also get a chance to think about whether or not this is something that they want to participate in. I'm just still doing the controls here for letting people in and out of our room and making sure they're going to the same spot. So if I seem every once in a while slightly like, oh yeah, I got to do that. So I do want to ask this question. Reese, you were a investor in this, and you've come along and moved on to doing, John gave examples of where there were other angel investment conferences that had started off, but you've taken your skill sets in a different way. Would you like to talk about Launchpad a minute?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. So Arcology Launchpad is a startup incubator. We work with companies that are looking for solutions to sustainable, equitable built environment. So you can think of it as better places to live and work is what we're helping to push that forward. So basically, working hand in hand with companies to achieve better success, better impact, and that's where we're at. We're in kind of a closed beta right now of working with companies that we've hand selected to kind of round out our systems and work with our mentors and things like that. But we'll be opening up to the greater world here in the new year.
Thanks very much. And what kinds of companies are you looking for when that come and participate in your event?
Yeah, we have, predominantly it's the architecture, engineering, construction industry. So the AEC is the centerpiece of what we work with. That overlaps greatly in the clean tech space, climate tech as well, prop tech. So some real estate related things. Certainly, circular economy is very large in what we deal with. Sharing economy, some aspects of that as well. And so, yeah, I can talk more about the companies we're currently working with, if that would be a better illustration of what we do.
Yeah, why don't you give us just a minute or two talking about those companies, and then I'm going to, yep, it's perfect.
Sounds good. Yeah. So we're working with 5 companies right now. We have a Pacific Northwest focus, so our in-person activities are in Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver, but we bridge throughout the world, looking for teams into our virtual hub for the incubator. So we have one Seattle company in our launchpad, that is Dota AI, and basically what they're doing is using AI to streamline the building permitting process. So when a general contractor goes to get a development approval permitting through the city or something, it takes a long time. It's very costly, time intensive, which, obviously it passes on to us in costs. So it's about reducing costs, making it easier to build more housing, things like that. That's Dota AI. Shark Energy is another company we're working with. They are in Vancouver, BC, and what they do is they store heat energy in the sewer system. So you can basically use the sewer system of a city as a thermal battery. And so it's an energy efficiency play at the infrastructure level. We're working with another company out of the Bay Area.
Reese, I'm gonna call that is super fascinating. Those two sound like great, and it sounds like the rest of your cohort would be super interesting as well in that architecture, energy saving space. Let me ask, are there companies, and you may have seen this amongst our presenters today and the other ones that came through this event, are there themes that you see if you were going to give advice to an early startup founder? Now that I know you've seen a lot of companies, what advice would you give to one early startup founder? I'll even let you do 2, but
certainly, yeah. So like pre-seed, like haven't raised money like that early.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I would say, certainly like what we're doing here today is get involved with your community. There's so many resources. I work I'm based in Bellingham, Washington, but I work in the Seattle startup ecosystem in Vancouver and Portland. So I know a lot of different communities, and there's so many people that are wanting to help and build things out. So being part of that community and seeing who is going to help you like move forward, and the second one is that getting the word out about what you're working on. Some founders are very hesitant about sharing their idea because it might get stolen. And there are some very rare occasions where you want to be more secretive about what you're doing, but 99.9% of founders, you need to get on that mountaintop and yell as loud as you can, letting people know what you're working on, because the more people know what you're working on and getting that word out just helps leverage that success.
Yeah. So, founders, I'd like to ask you this question about your communication. Do you have a monthly newsletter? Do you have a list of people who's you can't, in some cases you can't market, in others you can market. So, Jess, how do you do your communication to the people who are interested in following? Because I want to put my name on your list.
And specifically to like current and future investors, or like from a brand building perspective?
Well, it's super that you asked that question because it should be a different strategy. So tell me how you do for each.
Yeah, so for current investors, we do a quarterly newsletter that goes out about our progress. For future investors, we also do a quarterly, but a different newsletter, just providing, you know, any updates that we've had along the way. And then from a brand building perspective, outside of like our normal touch points, we have newsletters that go out monthly for any updates that we have from the brand side on, and that goes to our distributor partners, future distributor partners, and future wholesale partners, whether that's grocery or anything like that. And all of them are slightly different in regards to kind of the topics that we cover, but all similar vein.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have a best practice that they either employ or wish they were employing because they saw somebody else do it that you would like to do for communication?
I make YouTube videos because the science that I'm working on just is not that easy to understand.
Okay, yeah, that's very helpful.
To be honest, for me, it's very important. LinkedIn actually is a tremendous platform. We continue growing our followers. And to be honest, I have been having good connections through that from investors, from VC funds. Each time that we have an update, you know, we have feedback and then they look interested. So we also do quarterly letters with different kinds of communication, depending if you're an investor or not, but definitely leveraging social through LinkedIn has been a tremendous tool to connect to investors and to partners.
Thanks, Carlos. Anybody else have something they want to share on that particular topic? I'll just tell you, I am an investor in a number of companies. I am a follower on some, and I read every investment report that comes, like even if it's just a, hey, here's a video, here's what we're doing next in terms of marketing. I do read it. I think that having some structure to it and some consistency so that I know the first few times you're going to evolve it a little bit as you decide what is important content to put in, but knowing where to look and so I can actually see a progress. I will also tell you that it's a beneficial for a little blurb at the front. Remind you, we are doing this. And so then it's quick. I know, okay, Page Technologies is focused on this. And that reminds me quickly because I might, if I'm looking at the content, I might see that I've seen a couple of companies the same way. And I want to know what you are specifically doing. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes companies have the same name, so that makes it even more difficult too. But one of the things I want to do, and David was in here for a few minutes. He actually has been doing the informal coffee chat. Has anyone ever attended the Tuesday morning coffee with David just to have an opportunity to throw out your idea? Nobody here? Okay. Well, it's on the resource page if you should decide. I regularly take calls from people just to throw out their ideas, and I do try and follow everyone and champion them. So I will, from after this event, just give a little call out to your teams. I like it if you share something with me as a link and say, hey, can you share this across your social network? And I have access to do that on Seattle Angel Conferences next week as well. One of the things I want to tell you, as we're actually making our small talk, the investors are making their decisions. There is an audience vote. There is an opportunity for you to make an audience vote. And so I'm just putting in the chat in the link here so that feel free to go ahead. Someone's going to ask me, what is the audience vote? So this is, you may make your choice for the company that if you had the investment you would like to invest in. You can vote for yourself if someone's going to ask me that, but you may actually be saying, oh, that's an interesting enough company that I'd like to hear a little bit more about, and you feel free to make that selection as you like there. There is no prize for the audience vote other than the fact that you can claim that you won the audience vote. when we started earlier, and Jasdeep, who is from Micro Needles, he actually won the event last year, and he received a silver coin from Startup Haven, Bob Crimmins. Bob often does this dialogue with me at the same time, and he will tell you the story about how they actually got silver, melted it, decided on a logo for Startup Haven and melted it down and turned it into a silver coin that he will give the winners. It sounded to me like his quick tone was that they're getting scarcer. So I'm not sure if there's one of these for the winner of this as well, but I'll certainly be sure to let you know. Someone asked, do we know valuations? And so you're asking me, do we know the valuations of the 6 companies and what their valuation is? No, we did not. I do not have that information. We wouldn't share that information in public here either. So I think you're going to have to make a decision, Rick, on some other parameters. But what would be the parameters that you would like? Maybe it's the size of the market. Maybe it's whether or not you thought the team adequately described what the process was. Maybe you thought that it was something that you'd like to try, and therefore at a cocktail party, you'd like to say, oh, I'm an investor in. And I do that because I'm actually an investor in a strawberry robot picking company. So anyone can say strawberry picking as a SaaS service, then I can say that as well as a whole variety of other companies. But that's my cocktail story. Anybody else have something that they particularly feel like they could share? How many people who are founders are also investors? I know, Greg, you jumped into that role. I heard earlier that you wore both sides of the hat. I will tell you that I'm a founder, I'm a startup investor, and I actually work in the ecosystem supporting companies. But I did one of each of those roles specifically because I understood what the other side of the table was asking for.
So this is Tina. I just want to add, as far as criteria, things that I think of, this has been a really interesting process, and kudos to all of the other 5 companies. We have like 3 life science companies, including us, and then we have consumer product companies. And I think Page Technologies is the one that I know the least about personally, so it's something more for me to learn. But it's been very interesting for me because our company is consumer and health, and so there's been a lot of learnings. I'm always interested in traction, like, oh, how did you accomplish your sales? Now that you have sales, like what are the big hurdles? Because there could be more hurdles than before you had sales, right? So very interesting to learn from you all there. And then in the health tech space, like FDA is every day, all day long, right? And so I know your journeys and I know the challenges, and kudos to everyone and seeing the traction that you've made. So those are the things that run through my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can echo that a little bit too. I think, we're about a year old, right? We're both, fresh out of grad school. So it's been cool to see how much we've learned throughout, jumping into this. And I think through this experience, I think my mind's been open to all the problems that we will face once we go to market, and we're generating revenue. We have a product in the market. There's all these other things, from a business logistics perspective, beyond just getting the technology to really work well. So, we have a lot of notes, and the diligence report is going to be really helpful for us. So yeah, it's great.
One of the things I would advise startup companies to do is actually attend some screening sessions and listen to the investors discuss companies, because I'm always impressed that I'm always thinking about it's kind of like the 6 blind men with an elephant. One looks at the trunk, one looks at the tail, one's looking at the leg. And same thing with the investors. Some people focus on return, some focus on the CEO, some focus on the market, some focus on the IP. And I think it's important to hear those discussions to make sure that those things are all covered in a presentation.
I think that I had I think that for an experience. I think that before launching and having your product, you have a tremendous opportunity. Let's talk about capital, you know, to sell a dream and to sell what you are trying to accomplish, and that attracts certain set of investors. I think that what I had to learn really hard is that the day that I launched, all things changed. Everybody is beginning to tell about metrics, how much you're selling, what is your cost of acquisition, what is your volume, what is your profit, what is your profitability, are you doing this? Then all is about metrics. If I would have more information, you know, I will be more prepared to begin to gather all that information before. And that will be my recommendation to any founder, is like the day that you launch, before you can have this dream. I'm dreaming about creating this new idea, this new solution. When it becomes tangible, or becomes a lot of numbers, a lot of metrics, a lot of results, and you're not going to be evaluated by your idea. You're going to be evaluating by your traction. And to be prepared to have that information is something that you don't do because you are just trying to launch, but you're going to need money. And I think that you should prepare to have a Power BI or information systems that allow you to really gather that level of detail. Because even our due diligence today, there were so many questions about sales per cohort, in what month you sold. It's like you need to have a very robust system to answer the questions of everybody that is asking, and that requires a lot of work, more than what you really think. I think that has been my learning.
And we're going to ask you questions about your metrics at different stages. At some of the early stages, we're just really looking to see how much interest you have, right? At the later stages, we're looking at what are your returns. And I do regulatory for life sciences. And so what kinds of complaints do you have? And what level have you had to make any recalls? And if you have, what's the cost of poor quality, or what's the cost of patient issues? But the same thing happens in any industry. Noel, you were kind enough to share that your technology was a little bit different. And so I'll just be curious as to what kind of metrics are you thinking about your smokeless chimney having to be concerned about?
These are all things to be concerned about, yes.
Yeah.
I like seeing what the other companies are facing, and I hope to face some of those things myself.
Good. And we're hoping that you will too. I will actually tell you that we have sometimes had companies that have come through SAC where the investors have been interested, but 70 companies get to 6. And so there are still personal interests. So sometimes you heard Sandeep say that he was talking about running a sidecar. So sometimes there's been sidecars that have come out of where the first investment from the investor pool goes to one company, and then individuals get together and say, I'd like to invest in something else, or come alongside and say, can I help you? I have a specific piece of information that would be useful for you, and could we come along as an advisor? So the strength of the relationships that you made with 40 people here is super important, and keep them often. And one that seemed to occur when I was volunteering years ago. Okay, Deborah, that's a really good question, because there have been people from prior cohorts who actually have come back and won another of the organization's angel conferences that either John has run or have been tuned up, say, to get another one. For example, one of the companies here went on to win they were a finalist here, but they went on to win San Diego Angel Conference. And they said clearly, if they hadn't had that interactive questions, answers, let's look at your due diligence. Oh, you think your documents show us this, but by the way, when I look at your financials, there's a big hole here. I know it's not the story you want to tell, but maybe you can go and tidy it up. And so we're hoping that everybody's a little bit stronger. Yeah, practice makes for better performance. Yeah, I think you're quite right on that one. And even just the opportunity to continually have people ask you questions that when you think it's very clear. I explained it this way. I gave a board presentation last week. I have used the same slide on the board presentation for the last 3. It's a consistent deck. I've used the last 3. And so then they said, that slide was really helpful. It explained everything you're doing. And I'm thinking, wait a minute here. I've shown it to you 3 times. It must have been something different about their frame of mind or the way I explained it, or that we had a bit more time to dialogue on it. So I'm always surprised that that happens, and I shouldn't be, but I do. And so I was going to ask, Rick, you asked a question about the valuations, and I just thought I'd jump in. Are you wearing a startup founder hat or an investor hat? And what would that information have told you if I had access to it? And if you just unmute yourself, then.
Trying to unmute.
There
I
you
would
are.
say it's mostly, picking an audience favorite. I can do one without knowing valuations, but that's not really fair. And so I thought it would be nice to know, where people are coming at, and just that was my question as a with my my investor hat on, even though I'm a founder.
Yeah. No, I thought so, perhaps. Well, actually, the one thing I wanted to say is that when Elaine gave her presentation of the data and the analysis of investment before we all started, was there anything there that was sort of unusual to you? Did you see anything that, like, I've been tracking this carefully, and I've worked with Carta for some years. I was delighted to be able to see that Peter Walker has given her some additional information that she was able to present at this event. Nice new data. I'd like to see that. And it sort of, my metric is new data source, or is this correlating with what we've heard beforehand from other data sources, or just does it add more richness to the conversation? And so what do you think about valuations? Have they gone up? They've gone down? They've changed? How many?
I follow a lot of that. I see Peter's stuff all the time. It's just so hard to tell because it's a massive market. I mean, it's so hard to you see medians, you see averages. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see how things are changing. And like she was saying, how there are more down rounds. So if people are coming in, but it is what's interesting to me is to see things like where almost every valuation comes in for a startup at $6, $7, $8 million. And if they were on Shark Tank, they'd get beaten down to 500,000.
I was surprised at the prominence of safes as the tool for investment. Because I hear a lot of angel groups that absolutely will not invest in safes. And so I'm surprised that the number was so high.
Greg, did you find that like OC and Los Angeles, or just curious? Because that's like pervasive there. So I was smirking at like what I have heard over the recent years and why we use safes, which is like safes are so prevalent. So it's good data to spread around and talk about. But again, I think so there are some communities that are still using convertible notes quite heavily, or only convertible notes. So,
but I think at Angel Capital Association last year, in keynote speech, they recommended against investing in safes. So it's not that it's just my local area. So
I think more the challenges that you have with the cost of doing an investment and the amount of the investment. Safes are much cheaper. We don't have lawyers. The cost of the lawyers, we did our seed round. We had our venture capitalists. They wanted certain kind of lawyers. We need to pay them. You call them, every document is thousands of dollars. And actually, this is another advice that I give to fellow entrepreneurs, you need to plan for that because that becomes very expensive. So SAFEs are a very easy document to do, less expensive, more costly, more easy to manage. So that really helps.
I also think that, you know, Seattle Angel Conference has routinely used convertible notes. But what has happened in the community that we're seeing is that where there is a SAFE, some of the terms that are in the convertible note, which are a little bit more definitive based and more like the pros and cons. Deborah asked this question, what are the pros and cons? But it's not just what are the pros and cons, it's what are the pros and cons for who? Is it for the investor or for the founder? And so depending on whose side of the discussion you might be on, you may actually have different pros and cons. Noel, safe sounds safe. Yeah. So everyone knows it's an agreement for future equity. That's what SAFE stands for. Yeah. Okay. Just in case I'm not. Mark, we've met before, and I'm going to ask you whether or not you'd like to offer any comments or suggestions.
Well, this just has to me this has almost been like the first one that I've been a part of. So it's really, to me, a lot of these other groups, it's been very hard to even understand like what they like, how they even work. And this has just gone through, just even presenting once and getting knocked out, you know, has sort of, and getting a discussion has sort of opened up a lot of information that I've never known. I've been working in other places that never had to deal with investors at all. So the idea of this is like as a first time like introduction has really helped me understand like the world of investing. So I think just that feedback, the exit interview, I think was helpful because it even led me, as I tell other people, to people in Denver, you know, to talk to. So it's been good and eye-opening.
Well, good. That is one thing that, you know, despite the fact that there's a large number of companies, we do try and give some as you stay in the process from the beginning towards the end, you get more and more feedback as you go along. And that's understandable, but we try and give everybody who's interested in getting it a little bit of feedback at least, and then just to give you a bit of a direction on where you might go into next. And maybe it's to come back to here, maybe it's to go to another angel investment conference, maybe it's to say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize that if I was going out to take equity, I would have to deal with all these crazy investors, and therefore maybe I'm going to go get my speed to revenue program up and running a lot faster than I thought. So thanks, Mark, for sharing that. Is there anybody else that has suggestions or comments that they would like to share?
Did I miss the vote on the audience choice? Did you put something up or?
I did not give an answer to it, but I did put the link in there. So I want to actually, I'll just come back and do that again. 1 sec while I change screens here quickly.
Oh, there it is. Okay. I see it.
You got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then.
But by the way, the reason I get scared about convertible notes is timing. You know, you don't know your valuation at this point when you're pre-seed, and you also don't know your timing. So setting a 2-year or even a 3-year time frame it can put you in a really bad spot. And I don't think it works for the investors either. That's my thought.
Yeah. I have some investments in both, and some of my, we all anticipate this is a long-term investment strategy. I always look at the founders that I'm investing in and say, I might be with you longer than my husband. So I want to make sure that we're doing well together, right? Now, don't tell my husband that after 35 years, he's thinking he's, but even still, so you should be going into it with an idea that it's a long-term relationship. Lisa, have you participated in something like this before? I'm going to call you out a tiny bit here. You are on mute, so.
Oh, you are talking to me.
I was,
Problem is there's more than one Lisa. I notice that one of the investors is a Lisa.
Yes, that's quite true, and she left the room, so.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
No, I haven't participated in anything quite like this. I've been at other pitch events, but they've generally been in person or with just a small number of folks. I've done Pitch Force Life Sciences, for instance.
Okay, yeah. This we always used to be in person, and that became a little bit more difficult with COVID, so that shifted it, and then we've gone back to we get the opportunity. I mean, Tina coming from California, Greg as well. I don't know where you are, Matthew.
This is very cost effective.
North Carolina.
North Carolina, so broad, and Carlos?
New York.
New York, okay. So the investors have appreciated the opportunity of, and Elliot, I didn't ask you because I wasn't sure if you were on screen still there.
Yeah, we are in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah. So it has given an opportunity to expand. I will just tell you that Seattle is becoming, well, in terms of tech startups, we're really, we have the environment of Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Expedia was, so large tech companies here as well as a vibrant life sciences system. Jess, we have lots of Washington wine that is popular, and including, well, there's Shadow St. Michelle, but I mostly go for the concerts, but in the Yakima region, we're known a little bit for our Pinots and things like that. So we do have a vibrant ecosystem. The Techstars was here beforehand, and now they have moved out, but 5 or 6 other incubator programs, accelerators have actually come in. Just one started yesterday, showcasing companies. So it's certainly an ecosystem that is all about seeing innovation, and it's on any spectrum. The innovation has been, we're eager to hear it in any way. And I would say also that there's been disposable income, which always makes the match of innovation and investment useful, and a fairly affluent community makes it expensive for living here and doing business here, but it does make it better for investments.
And that is not something that Seattle originally had. I was born and raised Pacific Northwest. I was born in Good Samaritan Hospital in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And I can remember the Boeing bust in the early 70s, and there was a billboard on the I-5 that said, "With the last person to leave Seattle, please turn off the lights." And what
I thought that was a story, but are you telling me
it was real?
Okay.
It was real.
Okay.
The Japanese were sending food aid to Seattle. And what Seattle has become is just incredible.
Well, I'm so pleased to hear you make that contrast. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to do, this is really an opportunity for you guys to chat also. Do you want me to make out breakout rooms so you can talk individually? That is an opportunity, or do you want to just take a pause and why don't we say everybody has I don't know, 5-10 minutes that they don't have to talk to anyone, give you a break, because you guys have been, I mean, I had to slip out very quickly, fast for like 2 minutes in between. But just when John was speaking, I was said, okay, I'm gone for a sec. So I'd like to actually just draw us and give us a sensible pause. I mean, the intent is not to torture everybody here and say, what about, so it's now 6:20. I cannot tell you when the investors will come back. I can text and ask how things are going, but if I say 10 minutes, because that gives you a few minutes of time, then they may be here when you're ready to come back. Will that be okay? Or shall we make it shorter? 5, 10, Matthew? 10. Okay. So
And I gotta walk the dogs.
yeah, come right back by 6:30 or so, just 6:32 or something like that. And then we'll continue it on. And while you're all escaping for a minute, I'm going to turn my camera off just to check the results and make this text to see how the investors are doing. So if permission to do that, 10 minutes. Okay, so see you back here at 6:30 or whatever time zone it is for you. Yeah, I think Deborah's got a good question. So I'm going to make a oh yeah, there's all recreate here. I'm going to remake these rooms and just have 2. And if you decide, or actually I'm only making 1 because we'll use this one as 1 and the breakout room as 1. I'm creating ones. And so then if anyone wants to join that room, you can just jump into it. And then that could be a private conversation. And you could private chat to someone and say, hey, meet me in the private room, and you can excuse yourself. Okay.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello, John.
Where's everybody at?
We gave them just 5 minutes because there was a request for a wee break, and then so people will come back in 5 minutes here.
All right.
I'm just sorting out. We hope that your deliberations were really good.
I think they were. I thought we had a good conversation.
That's great. And so everybody, I had a breakout room. I'm just going to close it in case anyone went.
I
Next.
will be back
Okay.
in a moment.
Yep, that's what we gave people, just a minute.
How are we doing? Do you have a good conversation?
Well, I hope so. We had a good conversation. We talked a lot about what would you include in an communication to your investors or to other people who are interested from a consumer goods perspective. We talked a little bit about what metrics you might use to be able to understand what your investors were looking at. We talked a little bit about the process and how the founders found this interacting with you investors. And so here's my compliments to all the investors. Great conversations and questions were asked of the founders. Some people found it was a little unusual to be competing, 3 healthcare consumer goods, a variety of different kinds of companies. And so the questions that each team was asked was different. And that showed that you had to think about multiple ways of evaluating you. And then was also a question about whether or not we could tell the valuation of the company. So we spent some time talking about Elaine's data and whether or not valuations changed over the time that people were, as you were, there's some down rounds, right? So what did that mean in terms of valuations? And then, John, you might actually give us one quick comment on the one topic, which was about safes. And so California doesn't like some safes. Washington likes some safes. What are the pros and cons of safes? And we made sure that you have to clarify that answer from pros and cons from the founder's perspective, pros and cons from the investor perspective.
Right. So there's 4 ways to do the deal between an investor and a startup to try to make it go. And the normal old-fashioned answer is you buy common stock and you're done. And usually that's not what people are doing these days. Usually what they're doing is that the founders are getting common stock, employees might be getting common stock, but the investors are taking a preferred stock. And that preferred stock comes with some rights like information rights or voting rights or some liquidation preference or something like that. There's usually 5 or 6 different rights that are negotiated. But usually the preferred round is a priced round, and the price of the round usually takes some agreement, and the cost of getting to agreement is big enough that we hand wave that by doing either a convertible note or a SAFE. Now, the more that I do this, the more that I think taking a price round early and using something like Series Seed is a much better choice in general, but we're often not prepared to do that because there's a cost of doing that we're not ready to do, both in terms of negotiation, in terms of paperwork. But Series Seed is worth looking up and understanding as founders. And so what we end up doing is we opt out of the conversation by going to something that's very, very simple. And so the first attempt at that was convertible notes. Convertible notes are a tool that we use for bridge loans between rounds. So they just move that earlier and earlier. And then it essentially is attempting to look like a loan. That's why there's an interest rate. There's a discount rate in order to give a benefit to the investor for being in early. And it's got a term. And the advantage of the term to the investor is it has a hook that allows you to pull the conversation back to the table so you can talk to the startup, because startups often get blinders on and are heading down where they're going really fast, and they don't come back and talk when we want them to, like before they get in trouble rather than after they're up to their neck in trouble. And so a SAFE doesn't have a term. SAFEs often don't have interest rates. They often don't have many of these things, and they're designed to be very, very simple. And if you look at Y Combinator, where they came from, they were basically dealing with 260 companies a cycle, and they write all the checks, and then they send you off into the weeds, and only the ones that are standing above the weeds are the ones they pay attention to. And so from a founder point of view, it's very freeing. You have no obligations. There's just this money, and then at some point it converts to stock, but it's not, not something to worry about until it is a big deal. And so a lot of people are going for SAFEs. Now, one of the advantages for investors for SAFEs is when SAFEs are done right, there's no financial action. And what that translates to is no tax reporting. And so one of the pains for both convertible notes and tax reportings and SPVs, SAFEs, convertible notes, and SPVs are, they have tax reporting every year, which costs money, which requires a bunch of effort, which is meaningless effort. I'm going to, pay my interest or my pay for the SPV registration fee, which is a financial activity, which then the conservative CPAs say, oh, well, that's a tax event. Therefore, then I have to file a K1. And so now I have to do an exponential number of K1s for every member of the SPV, which drives me nuts. I think it drives Elaine nuts. So some of us are unhappy with this. So when you can avoid that, the investors will be happy, which is, again, why I think price rounds are a good deal. But a lot of people think that SAFEs are much more company friendly. And if you think about it, when you're at a Series A, the Series A is the point where the MBA valuation numbers actually start making sense, where the data is good enough that you get a real number instead of a fake number out of the equations. And so before that, or at a Series A, the venture capitalists expect triple, double, double, double. So I write my $5 million Series A check. They expect that to triple your business, and then the next year triple your business, and the next year double your business. So before Series A, you should do better than tripling. So if we're doing better, we're doing a 5x or a 10x in the early periods, right? So if I'm doing 25% month-over-month growth, which some of our companies are doing when they're in their seed stage, then that's 10x. So if I invest and I take a 25% discount, that doesn't look anything like a factor of 10. So if I had just bought the stock at a priced round, I would have gotten a factor of 10 increase in my stuff in that 1 year. But instead, I got a 25% little thing. So the best thing for investors, again, is this Series C Series C price round thing to happen. But the thing that is freeing, because 60% of the companies that are really good companies are going to fail, and so there won't be any future thing. And so it's very fast to write lots of safes. And so people like safes because they're fast and easy. There's not a lot of overhead. And in general, it's easy for the founder. It's easy for the investor. The problem for the investors is that then the companies go running off, and then we have to spend a lot of time trying to chase them. And we would prefer not to do that. And that's a big bit of a ramble, but that probably sets a broader context for that. Anybody have questions about safes and convertible notes and price rounds that they want to talk about?
And I'm going to say that if you have, then put them in the chat down there, because we've anxiously been waiting for the investors to come back. So John, I love the fact that you answered my question, and I was glancing around and it looks like everybody is almost back to us. And so let's go to, may I share the slide?
Yep.
Okay, this is the audience vote, and I'm going to let Jesse do the investor vote. So we've got vote for your choice of your most investable company. And out of the numbers that we had a vote, our slide is congratulations. We actually had a tie between Bika Beauty and Makani Science. So congratulations to both of you, Carlos, and to Greg, in terms of winning the investor vote. Now, Jesse, I'll let you take on. I can share the slide for you if you like.
Yeah, can you just flip to the
I can do that. So investor vote results are here, and the winner is, there you go.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Vera Health Vera. Congratulations, Tina and your team.
Thank you so much, gang. That's amazing. Great job, everyone. I'm really amazed by the support and the way that you guys executed this. And I have to say that was more hard work than I've seen any of my investors do on behalf of making a decision. They worked very, very hard. And I'm very thankful. Thank you.
Hold on, I got to get a picture here.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've got a reminder here of someone to say, take the picture.
Yeah, and we need to get Jesse in there too.
Okay, let's put her on spotlight there. I got her. Add the spot. Okay.
Spotlight. Christiane as well.
She's coming. So let's get Christiane and
Tina will be following you for the next, I don't know how many years. not as long as 10 years.
No, I hope that I hope, you know, I think in whatever way our investors can be active parts of our journey is the same reason why we invented this technology, because we were doing it for the people who could benefit from it and who wanted to see the change. So thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Super excited for you. And if there's anything that you would, need continuous support from the team, yeah, just let me and Christiane know.
Oh,
Thank
you
you
guys
so
are going to be talking a lot with each other. So there's much more work to do now. Now that you have agreed to do a deal, we now have to make the deal happen. So thanks so very much.
so thank you so much to all of the people who participated in this. We really have appreciated everybody's feedback on here. And I am going to I've got you all on one view page. Oh, well, I did. And I was going to take a picture of us all together. So thank you very much. Just for us.
Let me stop the sharing.
And stop the sharing. Here we go. Okay. So thank you. If you are here and want to turn on your camera, that'd be great. But we'll just do a quick shot. Thanks so much. And excited. There's lots of smiles here for having accomplished. This has been a 3-month process for everybody in terms of the investors as well as the founders. And that fact you can still be smiling at 20 minutes to 7 when some people have no power. We're so appreciative of you. Congratulations to you all. Thank you, John. I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, and this was a 6-month journey for Jesse and Kristan as they put together the program to put the SPV together. So really congratulations to them for putting that in. And Sudhir and Prashant are going to be doing that work for SAC 27. And for those of you with a bent for Europe, the transatlantic version will be taking place on December 5th. And so drop me a note if you'd like to join that program, join the final program for the European one. It's interesting to see the different choices that they're making. And we will start new programs in January with the meetup group. So if you have any questions, we're glad to meet and engage. We do have sponsors that allow us to engage in this process. Cartottle helps us with legal questions and supports us as we do things. Synthesis has been helping us with our website, and they're doing some consulting as a prior group as well. Innovare is helping us with our LinkedIn engagement and helping us use AI a little bit smarter to do our customer outreach. And we have Z Counting as our sponsoring accountant, helping us do the accounting for this program. So, thanks so very much. We appreciate you all being here. If you see people that want to see us do more of this, we love sponsors. They help us make this thing go. If we get proper sponsor support, we will go back to in-person in Seattle again. But until I find the sponsors to cover the food costs, I don't see how to make that happen. We'll see. Any need for ongoing entrepreneur questions, we do the open coffee every Tuesday week morning at 8:30. David Busby covers that when I can't do it. So between the two of us, we try to help people make progress. And the YouTube channel has over 150 workshops, all of which have some particularly interesting insights. So please feel free to take a look at that. Thank you so very much for coming, and we'll gladly stick around and answer questions if people have questions.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Noel, you had a question or a wave? Okay.
Right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.